other sports activities.
And we're looking forward to a top-notch football game today between the Scarlet Knights and the Mountaineers. Temperature 38 degrees, humidity 65%, not much of a wind. The outlook is cloudy and cold. Here's a look at the crowd this afternoon, bundled up for this football game. This rivalry dates back to 1916. The Mountaineers lead the series 7-1-2. Last year, West Virginia victorious at the Meadowlands by a final score of 44-17. The only Rutgers victory was in 1921 at Rutgers. The Scarlet Knights come in today with a record of 3-6. The Mountaineers ranked 15th in the nation. They are 7-2. And they have played a couple of common opponents, namely Boston College and Penn State. Rutgers lost to both. West Virginia victorious over Boston College, but losing to a longtime nemesis, Penn State, by 18 points.
Well, a nice brisk day here in West Virginia, and we have a great view up here, don't we, Bruce? Where you could see out with, what's that song about near heaven? How does that line go?
Almost heaven.
Almost heaven, and
right.
Boy, we're almost there. I'll tell you, that's how high we are.
We're ready to go, and Tom Angstadt starts the game off, kicks off for the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers. It's handled by number 1, Gary Mullen. Mullen's back near the 20-yard line, and that is all. And West Virginia will start 1st and 10 near their own 20-yard line, and they are led, of course, by their All-American candidate quarterback, Jeff Hostetler, a 6'3", 212-pound senior. Starting at tailback is Pat Randolph this afternoon. Fullback is Ron Wolfley, and Wayne Brown and the dangerous Rich Holland are the wide receivers. The offensive line for West Virginia, there's a good look at it. The left guard is Scott Barrows. He's a good one. And the left tackle, Brian Jaldriak. He is another one to watch. He's 6'7", 265 pounds, and just a sophomore. Penalty will be assessed against the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers. A dead ball foul, personal foul against Rutgers. So West Virginia, instead of starting from their 20, starts from the 35. First and 10 for the Mountaineers from the 35. I formation. They are a multiple offensive team. And on first down, a good hit in the backfield. Pat Randolph got the call, and Dan Errico came up to make the tackle. Rutgers 5-man defensive front. Jeff Cardilla out with a knee injury for the rest of the season. So the nose guard is now Bill Bester, and the left tackle, Tony Sagnella. Linebackers and 2 good ones, Jim Dumont and Tyrone Stowe. And the deep backs are Danny Errico, Bill Houston, Carl Howard, and Harold Butch Young. Second down, 12 yards to go for the Mountaineers from their own 34-yard line. Hostetler hands to Randolph, and he goes nowhere. So 2 plays, Sam, and Rutgers defensively has held West Virginia so far.
Well, we've heard a great deal about Jeff Hostetler, the West Virginia quarterback, but they do have a balanced attack. They run the ball almost 2 to 1 as often as they pass. In fact, in talking to Don Nealon yesterday, he said he would prefer, if he had his druthers, to run about 50 times and pass 30 times in the average ball game where you run 80 offensive plays.
3rd and 12, Hostetler's first pass of the afternoon. Look, fires, has a man complete at the 45-yard line. It's his tight end, Rob Bennett. And it is very close to a West Virginia first down. Bob Dumont, Dan Errico made the tackle. And there's Bennett on the season, 15 catches.
You see the Rutgers defense dropping back. They know that he's got to complete a pass for at least 10 yards. They're giving him 7 or 8 yards. They may have given him just a little bit too much on this play, as he does get the first down. Bob Bennett is a guy that Coach Nealon was very high on. He says he's his best offensive lineman if you consider the tight end as part of the offensive line.
It is good for a first down. Straight gives to Ron Wolfley, the fullback, and Wolfley gets maybe a yard. Wolfley is a junior from Orchard Park, New York, and on the season averaging 4.4 yards per carry.
Hostetler throwing much shorter this year, and this is normally the trend with experienced quarterbacks on good football teams. You don't want to throw the pass, you don't want to force, you don't want to press. His completion percentage has gone up from 48% last year to 57% this year.
Second down, 9 yards to go for the Mountaineers from their own 47-yard line. Hostetler play action pass, has time, look, fires, and it's incomplete. And a flag is thrown, a late flag. Number 1, Gary Mullen, was interfered with by Carl Howard, and a flag thrown down at the Rutgers 40-yard line, a late flag at that.
I believe you'll see Carl Howard, and there's no doubt that there is interference on the play. Receiver goes downfield, hooks up. The ball should be there right now. A little late in delivering the football. The only mistake that Howard made was that left arm. He wrapped it around the receiver as he went to get a piece of the football. Had he tucked that arm in or not touched the receiver, it was pretty good coverage.
Penalty against the Scarlet Knights. So West Virginia has a 1st and 10 at the Rutgers 40-yard line. Out of the power I formation again. The tailback is Pat Randolph. And the give is to Randolph, and he is stopped at the line of scrimmage. Good pressure by Bob Dumont. And so far today, Rutgers has guarded against the run extremely well.
West Virginia has not been overwhelming in running with the football. They've got considerable yardage on the ground, but they've been averaging just 3.2 yards per rush, which really is not that impressive. You've got to be well up over 4 or close to 5 in order to really be effective with your running game.
Second down and 10. Ball still at the 40. Now the tight end Bennett sets tight to the left, twins to the left side of the field, and Hostetler rolls. Hostetler with time, throwing deep for Mullen. He has him at the 6. Mullen breaks the tackle, and he's in for a touchdown. Fine move by Gary Mullen, and the Mountaineers have struck quickly.
Well, that's the thing that Jeff Hostetler does very well, runs with a football. He's run 71 times this year, and of course when your quarterback scrambles or rolls out like that, puts pressure on the linebackers and the deep backs. You know, where is the quarterback? What do I do now? Is he going to run? They take their eyes off the receiver, which they're not supposed to do. And incidentally, those linebackers are not supposed to leave coverage until the quarterback crosses the line of scrimmage. He sees his receiver deep downfield. And the ball slightly underthrown, but Errico just wasn't close enough to recover in time.
Paul Woodside on for the point after attempt. It's up. It is perfect. He is automatic. Woodside has now hit 50 consecutive extra points in his career at West Virginia. 12 minutes and 20 seconds left in the first quarter of play, and West Virginia on the scoreboard first. They lead 7-0. Near field in Morgantown, West Virginia. We're somewhere in those couple of bays there, and West Virginia didn't take long, Sam, to get on the scoreboard.
No, and the 2 Rutgers penalties didn't help, especially the one on the pass interference, which gave them a first down.
And a short kickoff out of bounds. The penalty will be assessed against West Virginia. It will be a 5-yard penalty, and they will try it again. Hostetler hit his 11th touchdown pass of the season, and you compare that with 6 interceptions, and that's a nice statistic.
Yeah, that's the key, really. You look at the quarterback's completion percentage. His yardage, of course, is very important. And then probably the most important factor, the number of interceptions, the turnovers, the mistakes. And as we indicated, those 2 penalties, one on the opening kickoff and the other on that 3rd and long situation by Carl Howard, which certainly was the primary reason for that West Virginia touchdown. That and a good play by Hostetler when he hit Mullen.
The West Virginia scoring drive, it was very quick. It took only 2 minutes and 35 seconds, 6 plays, 64 yards, and a 40-yard touchdown pass to Gary Mullen, his 2nd TD reception of the season.
The strength probably, well, they have a balanced team, really, the defense and the offense for West Virginia. If you had to pick a strength, it might be their defensive unit. Coming into today's game, they ranked number 10th in the nation against the rush, allowing just 97.8 yards per game. Totally, they ranked 17th in the nation, allowing 294 yards, so about 200 passing yards per game.
Junior Paul Woodside kicks off. James Shedneck of Rutgers has it at the 5-yard line. Shedneck to the 20, and he is wrapped up at the 22-yard line, and that's where the Scarlet Knights will put it into play, I should say. 1st and 10 from their own 22-yard line. Let's check the Rutgers offensive unit. Jack LaPrairie will start at quarterback again this afternoon. Albert Smith will start at tailback. Vernon Williams, the fullback, and Pendergrass and Baker are the wide receivers. The offensive line with Joe DiGilio, the outstanding center. John Owens and Joe Panucci handle the right side. Alan Andrews, the starting tight end. And Andrews on the season leading Rutgers in reception. We have an injured West Virginia player on the field at about the 39-yard line, hence the delay for just a couple of moments.
Of course, the Rutgers offensive unit has to decide what they're going to try to do. Are they going to try to run with the football? Are they going to try to throw the football? We indicated that they're tough against the run. But then again, you've got to consider whether the Rutgers offensive line can give the Prairie pass protection and if he can deliver the football.
While we have this opportunity, we'll check the West Virginia defensive alignment. A three-man front. The nose guard is Dave Oblak, and the tackles are Merritts and Walters. Two outside linebackers, Hathaway and Hughes, and the inside linebackers are Dave Preston and Derek Christian. D-backs, watch for number 44, Tim Agee. He's an All-American candidate, 5'11", 175 pounds, leads the team in both tackles and interceptions.
He's a good one. The average weights are pretty much the same. Each offensive unit, each offensive line outweighs the front seven of the opposing team by about 24 pounds. The difference, I think, is West Virginia has a little more speed, a little more quickness. I would expect Rutgers to come out and try to establish that running attack, take some of the pressure off the Prairie. If they're going to run against a quick, agile defense, you run right at them from tackle to tackle.
Fred Smalls, the injured player, off the field under his own strength. Rutgers has it 1st and 10 from the 22. Out of the I formation, and Albert Smith is the tailback. The Prairie hands to Smith on 1st down, and Albert gets a yard or so. Appeared to be a loose ball on the play, but apparently the play was blown dead.
Well, everybody's hitting, including the official. He was hit, he was knocked to the ground, but he was up and he was right in there, ready to hit again. They came out running right up the middle. I think when you have active people like that, not especially big people, you run right at them. Not much success on that 1st down play.
Wide receivers, both sides of the field. The Prairie looking at a 2nd down and 9 from the 23. The Prairie with a play-action pass. Throws it across the middle. It's complete to Len Beleza. And Beleza is up near the 29-yard line. Ed Hughes made the tackle for West Virginia. And when Rutgers needs a big play, Len Beleza is usually there.
Yeah, he has been extremely effective over the last few weeks. Last week, he carried the ball 12 times for 76 yards. He was most of their offense against Cincinnati.
And on the season, Sam, an impressive 5.7 yards per carry.
He's a good running back. Follows his blockers well, and he's got adequate speed.
3rd down 4. Rutgers 29-yard line. The Prairie straight drop back. Has time. Fires incomplete. Andrew Baker and Boris Pendergrass were both down the field. Pendergrass the closest man to the football, but it's an incompleted pass, and Rutgers will have to punt on 4th down.
Anticipating the pass, West Virginia was blitzing. They blitzed their strong safety, Anthony Daniels, also a good one. Because a big hitter back there, as you mentioned, was Tim Agee, who leads the team in both tackles and interceptions.
Gary Liska into the ball game to punt for Rutgers. Dropping back deep for West Virginia, Mike Scott and Willie Drury. And Drury is number 48, and he can scamper. Liska to Drury, and he'll call for a fair catch and make it at the 39-yard line. And that's where the Mountaineers will have it 1st and 10. We have 10 minutes and 50 seconds left in the 1st quarter of play. West Virginia leads it 7-0.
All my life, men have bought cars for me. First, my dad. Then my husband. I was always getting cars somebody else thought I should have. Well, now I make my own decisions. And the car I bought for me is the Buick Regal. It's stylish, intelligent, and dependable. Much like myself. Oh, I must admit, though, the guys did help a bit. I let them pick the color.
Wouldn't you really rather have a Buick? Now playing on ColecoVision, Mr. Do and Time Pilot, 2 of the best new arcade games for the best system made. This is Time Pilot, a battle with aircraft from the past and the future. Homing missile! Got him! Uh-oh! Ooh, bomber! And this is Mr. Do. Mow a path to his fruit and start picking, but don't get picked off. Powerball! Nice shot! Mr. Do and Time Pilot, now playing on ColecoVision. The best system in town keeps getting better.
7-0 West Virginia. The Mountaineers have it 1st and 10 from their own 38-yard line. Hostetler hands on 1st down to Pat Randolph, and Randolph gets to the 41-yard line. Jim Dumont, Harold Young came up to make the stop.
Once again, a good effort on the part of the Rutgers defense. You know, you go into every game with the intent of taking away something from the opposing team. The Rutgers defense has to decide what they want to stop, the run or the pass. I don't think you can take away everything from West Virginia. Obviously, they've decided to take away the run today. They've been very effective against the run.
Twins to the right side of the field. That's number 1, Gary Mullen, number 88, Rich Hollins, and there's all sorts of flags on the play off the snap. Dead ball foul called by our referee this afternoon, and that's Thomas Dammer. An illegal procedure against the Mountaineers.
And of course, Don Nealon indicated to us yesterday that he likes to have a balanced offense, but I've got to believe that the West Virginia coaching staff and team feel that they perhaps have better personnel than Rutgers and that they can outmuscle them a little bit and control the football on the ground. So I think it's wise for Rutgers to try to stop that running attack and put some pressure on the quarterback.
So it's 2nd and 13 for the Mountaineers from the 36-yard line. Again, they send 2 wide receivers to the right out of the power I formation. Hostetler keeps it on the ground, hands to Randolph, and he is stacked up after picking up maybe a yard. And it's Jimmy Dumont, the All-American candidate from Levittown, Pennsylvania, who came up to read the play.
And yesterday in our conversation with Don Nealon, the head coach for West Virginia, he indicated he was on the selection committee for the All-America team and that he was going to vote for Jim Dumont. I guess he's not going to be dissuaded from that opinion after today's game because Dumont has been in on most of the action in this first quarter.
He said he's the best defensive football player that they'll see all season long, which is quite a compliment. They're down and long, and Hostetler rolls to his right. Still looking. Hostetler in trouble and scampers out of the pocket. He's to the 45. He has first down yardage, and he is tripped up at the 45-yard line of Rutgers. Danny Erico made the tackle for the Scarlet Knights, but there's a look at Hostetler's versatility as he carries the football and picks up first down yardage.
Of course, this puts tremendous pressure on the defense. Not only that, when a quarterback rolls out like this, it destroys your blitz. Where do you blitz from? And, of course, you can get burned when you're blitzing. Everyone is playing it well to this point. Of course, Bob Dumont fell down, as you saw, number 35. They're putting pressure on him. He should have been tackled right there. Okay, that was the mistake, and now, of course, he goes clear across field for good yardage in the first down before he's brought down by, I believe, Joe Houston.
Gets the call on first down, and Harold Young runs him down at the 44 after a pickup of 1. Good hustle on the part of the junior from Rahway, New Jersey, Butch Young.
Pat Randolph, their best running back, the starting tailback. He had been out for several weeks with a knee injury, and Tom Gray from Somerville, New Jersey, had been seeing a lot of action and starting for West Virginia, but Randolph is bigger and faster than Gray, and they think he's a better back.
2nd down and 9 for the Mountaineers from the 45-yard line. Wide to the left this time, Rich Hollins. And in motion, Gary Mullen. Hostetler to throw. This time, swings it out for Pat Randolph. It's incomplete. Don Nealon, head coach of West Virginia. 4th year at the school. His record's 31-14. Young man from Canton, Ohio originally, went to Bowling Green, was a quarterback there through 1958, and he has been very successful in turning this program around.
Hasn't he? Boy, he's really done a job. When he came here, he didn't have a player on the team that had ever experienced a winning season at West Virginia. First year, he had them at 500, 6-6. The next 2 years, they finished with identical 9-3 records, and of course, had bowl bids in both years.
3rd and 9 at the 45. Hostetler straight drop back. Looking long for Willie Drury. He has him. Touchdown, West Virginia. Willie Drury was wide open, and Hostetler, before he went down, threw a perfect strike, and the Mountaineers have their 2nd touchdown.
Well, Rutgers gambled. They were blitzing everybody on the play, but there still should have been somebody on Willie Drury who had been disappointing for West Virginia up until today's game. You'll see now, let's see if Stowe comes. Stowe doesn't come, but you'll see number 35, Bob Dumont, who normally drops into coverage. He was blitzing. Stowe was going into that area, but no excuse for Drury being all alone on that play. Either Erico or number 2, Harold Young, obviously should have been closer and on coverage.
Paul Woodside on for the point after. It's up, and it's perfect. The Mountaineers have struck for a 2nd time in this first quarter, and West Virginia leading Rutgers 14-0. Hostetler throwing the bomb to Willie Drury, who has his 2nd touchdown reception of the season. You're watching Rutgers football on Madison Square Garden Cablevision.
At Madison Square Garden, but perhaps even more important to fans than its renown is gives its convenience. Only blocks from the Empire State Building in Midtown Manhattan, the Garden is a top 10 station for commuters. Nearby, dozens of fine restaurants for business get-togethers, and of course, offers the best in exciting sports entertainment. For season subscription information for Madison Square Garden events, call 212-563-8000.
Keep up to date on all the high school action in the metropolitan area each week on the Daily News High School Sports Show. Hi, I'm Bruce Beck. Join Bill Travers and me on Madison Square Garden Cablevision every Monday night at 7 p.m. with repeat telecast Wednesday and Friday evenings, also at 7 p.m. Highlights, rankings, features, and much more on the Daily News High School Sports Show. Sam DeLuca back in Morgantown, West Virginia. There's Rutgers head football coach Frank Burns in his 11th season. So far today, he has seen the Mountaineers strike twice for 2 big touchdowns.
And this is just the opposite of what occurred last year. Last year, when they played West Virginia, they played very well for the first 27 minutes of the football game. They came back. They were down only 7-0 after 27 minutes.
Kickoff handled by James Jednick at the 10. He breaks a couple of tackles, but goes down at the 18-yard line. And that's where Rutgers will take over, 1st and 10 from their own 18. Sam, when you fall behind this early by 2 touchdowns to a superior football team like West Virginia, the tendency is always to try to get it back so quickly by putting the ball in the air. But in this kind of game, it's so early, you've got to be careful not to do that.
This early in the football game, you can't discard your game plan. You've got to stay with the game plan, whatever that was. And I'm sure it was an attempt to remain balanced. So they've got to continue to do that. You can't put the pressure on LaPrairie and have him throw it every time.
First down, LaPrairie rolls to his left, looks, fires, and it is caught by Boris Pendergrass up near the 36-yard line, and good for a Rutgers first down. The last West Virginia scoring drive, once again, they did it very quickly. 6 plays, 61 yards. Hostetler, a 45-yard touchdown pass to Willie Drury, and it took less than 3 minutes.
Had to be a lack of communication on that last touchdown pass. Nobody was near the receiver when he caught the football deep downfield.
1st and 10, Scarlet Knights, 35-yard line. Baker goes in motion. LaPrairie hands off to Vernon Williams. And Williams with some good running room. He's across the 40, has at least 5 yards on the play. Jim Merritt, the senior from Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania, made the tackle.
Just to recap last year's game and the difference between the 2 seasons, Rutgers actually was leading 10-7 with 27 minutes gone in the first half. However, in the last 3 minutes, West Virginia hit 2 field goals and then dominated the game in the second half. They won 44-17.
A pickup of 5, 2nd down and 5. Rutgers at the 40. Albert Smith gets the pitch, looks to turn the corner, but he's forced out of bounds by Mike Scott, and it will bring up a 3rd down and short for the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers, looking to snap a 2-game losing streak, and it won't be easy against a team ranked 15th in the nation.
Yeah, hard to run outside against West Virginia. They've got good, active linebackers and a rather, well, not undersized, but not a very large front 3, but good pursuit from all of them. In fact, they say the nose guard, Dave Oblak, the co-captain, is listed at 6'3", 230, but we hear he's closer to 210, so not very big as far as nose guards are concerned.
3rd and 2, Rutgers. LaPrairie rolls left, throws complete, first down. Andrew Baker at the Rutgers 49-yard line.
Because Baker was the player that Don Nealon was concerned about yesterday. Every coach is always concerned about the big play guy or giving up the big play, and that's precisely what Rutgers has given up here in the first half. 2 big plays, 2 quick scores to West Virginia.
First down, Scarlet Knights, 49-yard line. 3 wide receivers to the left side of the field. The lone setback is Len Beleza. LaPrairie keeps it on the ground, and Beleza spins his way to the 46-yard line of West Virginia. So Rutgers beginning to move the ball effectively, Sam, in the air and on the ground.
Another nice run. Was that Len Beleza?
No, that's Vernon Williams.
Yeah, Vernon Williams, I thought that last time, because he spun out. He appeared to be tackled in the middle of the line, spun out. The linebacker was blitzing from the other side, so there was no pursuit coming over from Dave Preston, and that's why he got good yardage on that first down play.
Again, twins to the left side of the field. Second down and call it 5 for Rutgers at the 46. And the handoff to Vernon Williams. And Williams with a big hole and a first down. At the West Virginia 37-yard line, Steve Hathaway made the tackle.
Nice run, but watch the block by number 55, Joe DiGilio, the offensive center. Now look how he fires out into number 95. That's not the starter, but look how he stays with him, and even when he spun out, DiGilio was right after him, and of course that's the area that the running back Williams hit.
Joe DiGilio, the sophomore from Lower Cape May Regional High School in Cape May, New Jersey, is injured. He has played almost every down this season, and he is a vital cog on that offensive line.
Boy, along with John Owens, he and Owens have been the two most consistent offensive linemen for Rutgers. Number 95 was Ernie Anderson, the backup nose guard, to Dave Oblak, the co-captain and senior, who has started for 3 years for West Virginia.
It is cold this afternoon, and the Mountaineers getting their hands warmed up before the offensive unit comes back on the field. 1st and 10. Rutgers continues to move the football at the Mountaineer 37. The Prairie gives the ball to Vernon Williams. Big hole, and Williams lunging to the first down marker. Vernon Williams carrying the football well so far in this first quarter of play.
Well, we indicated that the defensive line for West Virginia is not very large, and the Rutgers offensive line seems to be able to handle them. Watch the offensive center now. He does a good job. That's Oblak back in the football game. Pulled out the off guard. He breaks to the outside when the linebacker ties himself up on the inside. That was number 50, Matt Smith, who really took himself out of the play. He overreacted.
It is good for a Rutgers first down at the 27-yard line.
Good running.
Glenn Fine is the center in the football game, replacing Joe DiGilio. Fine is a sophomore from Wayne Valley High School in Wayne, New Jersey. He is number 51 in the center of your frame. The Prairie with a long count, hands the ball off to Williams, breaks a tackle, but is then put down.
Outstanding job by Glenn Fine now in the football game. He brush blocked the nose guard and then goes on and picks up the linebacker. I believe it was number 38, Dave Preston. Watch number 51. Watch Glenn Fine. Brush block. Look how he takes on number 38 and just stays with him. And, hey, he's not going to quit. May have got an arm wrapped around number 38, Dave Preston, but a fine effort. Good aggressiveness and determination.
Second down and 10 for the Scarlet Knights. Single setback this time is Lenny Beleza. Andrew Baker goes in motion. The Prairie rolls to his left, has a lot of room, pulls up, throws, and it's incomplete. Intended for Alan Andrews, but Matt Smith was there to bat it down.
Maybe just as well, because I believe he didn't have a receiver downfield. Alan Andrews was in the middle of 3 defenders, and I don't think he had any better chance of coming up with a football than one of those West Virginia defensive people.
So Rutgers now looking at a 3rd and 10 at the West Virginia 27-yard line. 14-0 West Virginia leads. 4:51 left in the first quarter. Wide to the right side, Andrew Baker, Boris Pendergrass wide left. Smith back in the ball game. LaFrary to throw on 3rd down. Pops it off complete to Beleza. First down Rutgers, and Beleza is down to the 10-yard line. It took 5 blue shirts to finally wrestle down Len Beleza, and Rutgers continues to move the football.
Don't press, don't force it. Take what the defense gives you. The primary thing that a quarterback must learn. Forget about throwing that 40-yard bomb. Just take what's there. Sets up, looks downfield, doesn't see anybody, dumps it off to Beleza over the middle. First down. You can't ask for more than that. Nice play. Watch how Beleza puts down his head and picks up 3 extra yards on his own. Good back.
1st and goal, handoff to Albert Smith. And Smith gets to the 4-yard line before Timmy Agee and Anthony Daniels came up to make the tackle. Both are secondary players, and when the running back gets into the secondary, you know he's doing his job.
Boy, you know that. And Clement Udovich pulling out that time had a good block. DiGilio, we understand, is okay. He will be back in the football game. Rutgers continues to run effectively. Coming into today's game, they had averaged 4.1 yards per carry. We mentioned West Virginia was averaging just 3.2 yards per carry.
Full house backfield, 2nd down and 4 for Rutgers at the 4-yard line. Handoff to Smith, touchdown Rutgers. The Scarlet Knights come right back, march down the field, and they're on the scoreboard. Now it's a 14-6 football game. and that must do wonders for the Scarlet Knights' confidence.
Watch the offensive center again. Glenn Fine, number 51, I believe he has the key block. Watch how the running back runs behind that block, stays with the defensive man, and Albert Smith just waltzes in. When a running back goes in that easily, you know the offensive line is doing the job. The defensive player took that side on Fine. That's fine. You just stay with him, Glenn Fine, and just ride him out.
Nice job, though, wasn't it?
Yes.
Angstad's point after touchdown is up, and it is good. So Rutgers right back in it. And they were able to move the football effectively against a highly talented West Virginia defense. And with 3:44 left in the first quarter of play, the Scarlet Knights have cut the lead to 14-7 in front of a lot of bundled fans here in Morgantown.
Very effective drive. I don't know if Don Nealon had anticipated that perhaps he was going to have a piece of cake today, because he took out his nose guard and his co-captain Dave Oblak and put in Ernie Anderson, the backup. But if you notice, at the end of that drive, Oblak was back in the football game along with all of the other starters. And he had said yesterday that he has great respect for Frank Burns, that he's thought that every time he's played against Burns, Rutgers has had an outstanding offensive game plan, and he knew it was not going to be an easy task today.
Rutgers played West Virginia so effectively last year throughout the first half in the Meadowlands, but then in the second half, the roof caved in, and Hostetler got on track through a couple of touchdown passes to Rich Hollins, who has been quiet so far today.
They have been effective running the football from tackle to tackle, relying on the over-aggressiveness or overreaction of those linebackers and smaller defensive people.
Gary Mullen has it and brings it back to the 27-yard line, and that's where Hostetler and company will start 1st and 10. Jeff Hostetler, the All-American quarterback. He is a senior from Halsapple, Pennsylvania, a transfer from Penn State, and in 2 years here, West Virginia has just been something else. The team 16-5 under Hostetler, and by the way, Sam, he has a 4.0 academic average in finance.
That certainly doesn't hurt matters, doesn't it? Really helps the quarterback.
What did the coach tell us yesterday? He said his greatest strength is his head. He's got a great head on his shoulders. Great give to Ron Wolfley, and he runs into Tyrone Stowe as he gets to the 30-yard line. That Rutgers scoring drive was an impressive one. They marched straight down the football field, and LeFerry put the ball up in the air. He also handed off to Williams and Smith. They went 81 yards in 12 plays. It took only 4 minutes and change, and Albert Smith scored his 5th touchdown of the season. 3 minutes, 12 seconds left, first quarter. Mountaineers lead 14-7. In motion goes Wayne Brown, the pitch back to Pat Randolph, and he is stacked up at the line of scrimmage. Lionel Washington made an excellent read on the play, and it will bring up a 3rd down, and a flag is down on the play.
Talking about Jeff Hostetler and what his coach Don Nealon said yesterday, he said that Hoss, that's evidently what they call him here in West Virginia, has good vision and has the ability to turn bad plays into good plays. We saw that earlier in the game when he rolled right and then scrambled left for excellent yardage and a 1st down. Of course, good vision encompasses just about everything. It means that a quarterback can see the entire field, so it indeed may mean that his eyes are good, his peripheral vision is good. I think it also has a lot to do with the ability to read the intelligence quotient that we discussed before, the fact that he can read defenses, knows where to look, and that's probably a combination of things when he says good vision.
Holding against West Virginia declined by Rutgers. It is 3rd and 6 for the Mountaineers from the 30. Hostetler sets up, has time. Now running out of the pocket, and very close to a 1st down. I don't know if he made it. Tyrone Stowe came up to meet Jeff Hostetler.
Well, there's really nothing you can do when a quarterback does that. When he scrambles out of the pocket, the front 3, the people rushing have to get there. The people downfield want to stay in coverage until he crosses the line of scrimmage. Doesn't see anybody. Now, that was number 95, I believe, that really got pinned in. But, of course, you can't stay in lanes all the time. You've got to go out of your lane a little bit if you intend to put on a good pass rush. 95, of course, is Clyde Woodley, the designated pass rusher.
Short of a 1st down, Steve Superick on to punt for the first time today. Hits it to Shedneck. Shedneck at the 28. He's to the 35. And he gets to the 36-yard line. So Rutgers defense held And now the offense gets excellent field position. As you look at Haas getting the big bundle around him, you've got to take care of your quarterbacks. And that's what the Mountaineers are doing. So Rutgers will have it first and 10 from their own 36, trailing 14-7 in the ball game. A minute 53 left in the first quarter.
Talking about Hostetler, some people think he could be the #1 quarterback taken in this year's pro draft.
LaPrairie leads out Rutgers. Vernon Williams, Albert Smith are split. Hand off. Albert Smith. Then Smith twists and turns, and he's up to the 40-yard line. They're using Smith, Sam, from a wing formation, and that time they brought him against the grain.
Yeah, a little bit slow in developing. Had he gotten there faster and stayed behind Clement Udovich, who turned the corner, he would have had good yardage. He elected, probably because he felt he couldn't reach Udovich, to break it to the inside. And not bad yardage, but he would have had more had he followed his offensive pulling guard, Clement Udovich.
Well, Joe DiGilio is back in the football game, replacing Glenn Fine. It is 2nd down and 6 for Rutgers from the 40. Single setback, and that's Vernon Williams, and Williams breaks the tackle. Finally runs into Jim Merritt, who was shifted from nose guard to left tackle this year. He's a transfer from the University of Connecticut, number 96.
He led the defensive line in tackles last year. He had 82 and had 4 sacks this year. Ernie Anderson in at nose guard, DiGilio back in at offensive guard, but if Glenn Fine continues to play as he played that short time, that's the only time we've seen him this year, they'll move him to another position because DiGilio, of course, is also a sophomore.
3rd down 3. Rutgers at the 43-yard line. LaPrairie to throw. In trouble. Dumps it off to Smith. It's complete. Smith has a first down. Or is very, very close. Van Richardson came up to make the stop. Give LaPrairie credit for getting that pass off. He was under a lot of pressure.
And their designated pass rusher from the linebacking spot, number 45, Steve Hathaway, is the man that puts pressure on LaPrairie. You'll see there's number 45 hitting LaPrairie as he releases the football. That's Owens out there with a fine block in front of Smith. But Holloway leads the club with 12 sacks. So those are coming on blitzes, and he racked up LaPrairie once again, who has been taking a beating this year.
Timeout called on the field. Rutgers is short of a first down. It will be 4th and about 2 feet. Cold, blustery Morgantown afternoon. It was snowing last evening, and the snow pretty much stopped late in the evening, and nothing really stuck. And this afternoon we're just playing in cold conditions, but there's still a pretty good crowd. This facility holds somewhere in the neighborhood of 55, and somehow, Sam, they managed to get 64 in here one football game. I don't know how they did that.
Well, it's not supposed to hold to 55 either. The official capacity is 50,512, and they had over 62,000 for the Pittsburgh game, of course, which is just 60 miles away. Pittsburgh is, anyway.
Gary Liska back in punt formation. Waits for it at his own 30. And we have a flag down on the play. And that is it for the first quarter of play. The score from West Virginia, the Mountaineers 14, the Scarlet Knights 7. We'll be right back. Liska for Rutgers as we begin play in the second quarter with West Virginia leading 14-7. There's the dangerous Willie Drury, who's already caught a touchdown pass from Jeff Hostetler in the first quarter of play. Liska's punt is short, and it angles over by the far sideline and bounces down near the 26-yard line, and that's where West Virginia will start at first down and 10.
West Virginia finishes up their season next week against Syracuse. This, of course, is their last home game, and I believe 19 seniors will be participating for the last time here at their stadium in West Virginia.
Hostetler so far today, 2 touchdowns. You've got to be able to make the big play if you're a quarterback, and that's exactly what Jeff has done this afternoon.
He's thrown only 4 times, completed 3.
Hostetler, naked bootleg, rose to his right, throws complete, And up near the 35-yard line goes Ron Wolfley, who's the fullback. That is his 6th reception of the season and first of the afternoon.
Well, nothing more basic than that. Quarterback rolling out, and of course the fullback, going through the line and moving in the same direction, waiting until he moves between the linebackers. Quarterback releases the football. An injured Rutgers player is down.
Harry Swain, number 90, freshman from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, down at the Rutgers 25. And he is being looked at. Swain got the start at right tackle after Turdilla went out with an injury. Benchner was moved to nose guard, and Swain right tackle. He has played well, too.
He's played well, and he's played against perhaps their best interior offensive lineman. We had indicated before that Coach Nealon said that his best lineman was Rob Bennett. Most coaches don't normally consider the tight end as part of the offensive line. He evidently makes a distinction between the offensive line and the interior offensive line with 5 people. The best of the interior linemen is Brian Jorzwiowski. How do you pronounce that, Bruce?
Are you trying to set me up? Well, next week, the Owls of Temple fly into Rutgers Stadium for the final of the 1983 football season. Madison Square Garden Cablevision will be there to bring you all the action next Saturday night at 10:30 and Sunday morning at 9 right here in Madison Square Garden Cablevision. Don't miss the action as the Owls of Temple roll into Rutgers Stadium next weekend.
That offensive tackle number 77 is Brian Jorzwiak.
Second down and short, straight give up the middle. Tony Sagnella made the stop on Ron Wolfley. Wolfley looking for first down yardage.
You talk about a tough assignment. Jorzwiak is 6'7", 260 pounds. Junior, their best interior offensive lineman. And, of course, Harry Swain, who was playing on that side, is just a freshman. For Rutgers, he stands 6'4" and weighs about 220 pounds. He has since been replaced. However, we'll get to that in a moment.
Twins to the left side of the field. Hostetler pitches back to Pat Randolph, and Randolph is stacked up at the line of scrimmage. Lionel Washington made the stop. It will bring up a second down and about 10.
The Rutgers on that last play had Lionel Washington playing over Jorzwiak. Jorzwiak. You know why? Because it's not spelled that way. See, that's what throws you off when the spelling is different.
Here's a look at Paul Woodside, number 3, near side of your picture. He is the outstanding kicker. All-American last year, second string All-American indeed. And he has not missed an extra point ever here at West Virginia. Gary Mullen goes in motion. Hostetler fakes the pitch out, throws across the middle, and it's almost caught by Rob Bennett, the big tight end, who made a great effort in trying to secure the football.
But he is big, and he utilized all 6 feet 6 inches of that frame as he reached up, got one hand on the football. Had he not been hit, he obviously would have been able to put it away. But you'll see that he is hit here. Pass is thrown extremely high. Well, he had to clear the outstretched arms of Jim Dumont. That's why it was thrown so high. And eventually Rutgers converges on him, and he is not able to hold on to the football.
Third down, 10. West Virginia, ball at the 37-yard line. Bennett sets tight on the left. Mountaineers 75% so far today on third down. Hostetler throws a bullet, and it's caught by Rich Hollins. That's his first catch of the afternoon, and it's good for a Mountaineer first down.
Well, he is their big play guy, not so much because he has outstanding speed, but he has good moves, good hands, and of course he has worked a great deal with Hostetler. The timing is there, as you can see on this play, but really a fine reception. Ball wobbles a little bit, not thrown well, thrown low. He goes in, he manages to keep it off the turf.
Hollins is 6th on the all-time receiving list here at West Virginia. He now has 90 catches for his career. Hostetler back to work on first down. Fires complete to Hollins, and it's good for another first down. Carl Howard made the tackle.
Well, as a sophomore, Hollins had 37 catches for 754 yards and 6 touchdowns, averaged over 27 yards per catch last year. And you can see why. Now, he does go long. These are considerably long passes. Again, right on target, goes up over the middle. Didn't have to leap. Actually lost a split second as he went up into the air. Had he not leaped, maybe another yard or two on the play. Could have turned upfield faster.
38 receptions this year. First and 10 Mountaineers, and they give it back to Pat Randolph. And the freshman from Folsom, Pennsylvania, gets 3 off the right side. Lionel Washington there to make the stop.
I think when you see a receiver go up over the middle like that, like Collins did on that last reception, part of it is he wants to protect the football with his body, assuming that he's going to be hit from the rear. And then I think it's just a natural tendency when you're running over the middle and you expect to be clobbered upon catching the football to sort of tighten up and, tense yourself and thereby leave your feet, and you feel more protected in that situation.
Second down and 8 at the 30. Off to Randolph, tries to turn the corner. Jim Dumont knocks the football free, but it's picked up by guess who? Rich Hollins. Good hustle by the senior from Zanesville, Ohio, picking up the football. No, that's 48, Willie Drury, who recovered the football, but the Mountaineers maintain possession.
Boy, that could have been a big break for Rutgers last week against Cincinnati. They turned it over 7 times. You see Sagnella almost got a piece of him. Lionel Washington almost got a piece of him. Jim Dumont does. But unfortunately, Drury picks it up, and it's still West Virginia's football.
Third down, 7. Mountaineers at the Rutgers 29. Twins to the right. In motion, or trying to get off the field. That might have been an extra player. Hostetler throws. It's caught by Hollins. Fakes out one man, and he gets to the 21-yard line, and it is good for a West Virginia first down.
Well, Rutgers, I think, has done what they set out to do. They've shut off the running game. West Virginia has just 29 yards running with the football. Randolph, their best rusher, has carried 10 times for just 6 yards, but Hostetler has hurt them via the pass. Once again, the rollout, again trying to put pressure on those linebackers, throwing beyond the linebackers there or in front of them, and he picks up some yards on his own. Their best receiver, Rich Hollins, number 88. He leads the team, incidentally, in both receptions and yardage.
21-yard line of Rutgers. Hostetler, quick drop back, just throws it across the middle. It's caught by Hollins. He breaks the tackle, and he's down at the 13-yard line. Jim Dumont made the tackle, but now Hollins is getting loose. Last year, got a couple of big TDs against the Scarlet Knights, and now going back to work again.
And I think it's significant that he doesn't have the blazing speed and yet is widely respected by everybody as a receiver. You just don't have to have the blazing speed. Other things are equally as important. The timing, the ability to run good routes, the ability to outsmart a defender. Those things are just as important as speed.
Flag is against West Virginia. Ineligible receiver downfield. That's a loss of down.
And I think that's one of the reasons that Frank Burns and his staff are reluctant to give out the times that their players run the 40-yard dash in. Nobody can prejudge. You evaluate a player on what he does on the football field and not in what he runs that 40-yard dash.
Second down and 15 off the penalty. Reverse is set up. Gary Mullen looking to cut it back, but Rutgers plays it perfectly. Carl Howard all over Gary Mullen, and it is another loss on the play. It will bring up third down and long.
Well, nobody was fooled on that one. I'm sure that West Virginia would like to take that one back. Fakes to number 24. It's Tom Gray. Gray probably should have gotten the football. He would have had some decent yardage on the play. Jim Dumont, once again, a nose for the football. Reacts well, does everything well, doesn't he?
He sure does. Third and 20. Ball at the Rutgers 31-yard line. Hostetler back to throw. Sets up. Has time. Throwing long for Hollins. Complete. And a first down for West Virginia at the Rutgers 8. Talk about making the big play. Hostetler did it again.
Boy, he certainly has the ability to make things happen. I believe that Butch Young slips on the play. I don't know if he was trying to get out to the receiver or to come up. There was a shallow man, also someone in front of Young. You may see him trying to get up off the ground. Well, there's Butch Young. I think had he not slipped, he would have been in position to deflect that football, and eventually Errico comes up and drives him out of bounds.
Big day for Hollins so far. 4 catches, 61 yards. First down at the 9. Straight give up the middle. Wolfley breaks a couple of tackles and gets down to the 1-yard line. That was sheer power. Wolfley, 6'1", 210, a junior from Orchard Park, and he just barrels over that Rutgers interior 5.
Wolfley is the only running back for West Virginia to go over 100 yards this year. Somebody missed a tackle there, but you can see he does have good power as he overwhelmed at least one defender before finally being brought down.
Second down and goal at the 1. Full house backfield for West Virginia. Handoff Wolfley, and he gets near the goal line, but not in. So it will bring up a third down and perhaps inches.
I mentioned before, West Virginia has not been overly impressive running with a football, even in that effort when Wolfley got over 100 yards, 114 yards to be precise against Boston College. 67 of those 114 yards came on a faked punt.
Tom Bowman, the junior from Ohio, checks into the backfield along with Ron Wolfley and number 32, Tom Gray. T formation, 2 tight ends, 3rd and goal at the 1. Hostetler bootleg, touchdown. Great call. And Hostetler is in for 6 points. I was going to say to you, Sam, do you think they could run something wide when everyone expects you to go up the middle?
Well, he's done that quite often this season. He beat Pittsburgh on a 6-yard keeper. He also had a 10-yard keeper in that football game. Fakes it up the middle to Wolfley, breaks to the outside, and just outruns Carl Howard, who had broken to the inside and couldn't get out quite fast enough.
Well executed. Hostetler set it up with a good fake to the middle, and then just got outside of Carl Howard. He had pretty good speed, outraced Howard to the end zone. Woodside's extra point up, and it is good. West Virginia takes a 14-point lead again. The score with 9:19 left in the first half. West Virginia 21, Rutgers 7. 5 miles south of Pittsburgh, we're in the Appalachian Mountains in Morgantown, West Virginia. The Mountaineers lead Rutgers by a score of 21-7, and Woodside's kick handled by James Shedneck. He's out to the 30, and the kicker finally holds him up long enough to get some help. And Rutgers will take over at the 38. Good return by Shedneck.
Well, he's been good on those returns all season. For Rutgers, got the little skirmish down on the field. An altercation. Shedneck has returned 20 kickoffs this year for 430 yards, a 21.5 average. I believe he helped his average a little bit on this one. Waits for the block by Beleza, breaks behind it, up the sideline, try to put on a move there, almost did. Is that the kicker that brought him down?
It is. Paul Woodside. He's only 5'11", 170, and he's so valuable as a kicker. He got a great hand from the crowd as he came off the field, forcing that stop on Shedneck. In any event, Rutgers has good field position at the 38-yard line. 1st and 10, long set back, Len Beleza. LaPrairie, quick drop back, throws complete to Baker, makes a fake to the inside, and gets up to the 44. Pick up of 5 yards or so. Coach Nealon was telling us yesterday that Baker is a dangerous receiver.
Well, you can see it snowed here yesterday. It really didn't stick. I guess there's a dusting. That's what they call a dusting as you look out over the mountains and hills here. But that accumulation under the bench obviously was swept from the field or from the tar.
2nd down and 4, Rutgers at the 44. Scarlet Knights trying to come back and answer with their own offensive rally. Baker comes wide left. LaPrairie hands to Beleza. Big hole, 1st down, West Virginia territory, 46-yard line. Then Beleza continues to excel when he's in the football game. He is a sophomore from North Brunswick, New Jersey.
Good running back. He's also caught 6 passes for 41 yards for Rutgers, and they have run the football much more effectively in this football game than West Virginia.
Rutgers with 97 total yards in the ball game, 49 on the ground. West Virginia with only 38 on the ground.
There's a story to that.
LaPrairie's throw incomplete, intended for Pendergrass, with Steve Newberry back in coverage.
The story to the effectiveness of the West Virginia running game is that Jeff Hostetler, the quarterback, has 22 yards on 3 carries. The rest of the team 16 yards on 16 carries.
Sam, this is a dangerous pass,
up there.
isn't it?
Well, yeah, I would say in that instance, with coverage as good as that, it is somewhat dangerous. If the timing is there, those sideline patterns are really not all that dangerous. He threw it a little too far, a little too late, so it was dangerous.
Second down and 10. Prairie rolls left. Still looking, has plenty of time. Looking for a receiver, throws it back against the grain. And it's caught by Beleza. And Beleza gets to the 38-yard line before Steve Hathaway wrestled him down.
Give a quarterback enough time and he's going to find an open man. Pass protection was the key to that one.
Flag down on the play. That last West Virginia scoring drive, by the way, 74 yards in 5 minutes and change. And Hostetler, who has accounted for all 3 West Virginia touchdowns today, 2 in the air, 1 on the ground. He went in from 1 yard away. Penalty will be against Rutgers, and that will bring back that nice game.
Yeah, Hostetler had a great many injuries last year. They played 12 games overall. He was involved in only 9 of those games. In fact, he had just returned from an injury when West Virginia played Rutgers last year, and Rutgers did not see very much of Jeff Hostetler.
Well, they said during the week he's been suffering from migraine headaches this week after a tough game at Temple. But so far today he has showed no ill effects, that's for sure. The penalty brings the ball back to the Rutgers 46. It is 3rd and 18 for the Scarlet Knights. In motion, Baker. Now Prairie is back to throw. Sets up in the pocket. Throwing long for Pendergrass. And it is incomplete. Back in coverage was junior Mike Scott from Parkersburg, West Virginia. And it is 4th down, and Rutgers, who looked like they had a nice drive going, will now have to punt it away.
Yeah, I still don't like that alley-oop type pass. That time he threw it to Andrews instead of Baker. But the defensive secondary for West Virginia laying off the ball. Very little chance of completing that.
Gary Liska back in punt formation at his own 30. And he'll be punting to Willie Drury. Liska, the rush is on, and he just gets it away. Drury, fair catch, West Virginia 21. And that's where the Mountaineers will take over 1st and 10. 7 minutes, 21 seconds left. In the first half, the Mountaineers lead it by a score of 21-7.
Now playing on ColecoVision, Mr. Do and Time Pilot, 2 of the best new arcade games for the best system made. This is Time Pilot, a battle with aircraft from the past and the future. Homing missile! Got him! Uh-oh, blue bomber! And this is Mr. Do. Mow a path to his fruit and start picking, but don't get picked off. Powerball! Nice shot. Mr. Do and Time Pilot, now playing on ColecoVision. The best system in town keeps getting better.
Ball from their own 21-yard line. Bruce Beck, Sam DeLuca back at Mountaineer Field in Morgantown, West Virginia. On 1st down, Jeff Hostetler gives to number 22, Tom Bowman, and he is racked up behind the line of scrimmage. Good pressure by Bob Dumont and Joe Corbin.
Well, once again, Rutgers effective in taking away that running game. They should be as effective in stopping the pass, and the score would not be 21-7 at this point. They have carried 17 times now for about 15 net yards. West Virginia has.
2nd down and 12. Mountaineers at the 20-yard line. Out of the eye, Hostetler play action. Sets up, dumps it across the middle. It's incomplete. It was in the hands of Tom Gray, and he dropped the football.
Mentioned that Hostetler is not throwing as often this year. Coming into today's game, in the games that West Virginia has won, he has averaged about 23 passing attempts. In the 2 games they lost, he threw 29 times in both games. And ideally, that's what you want to do. You don't want to have your quarterback throw 30, 35, or 40 times a football game. On most of those occasions, it's in losing efforts.
So it's 3rd and 12. West Virginia at their own 20-yard line. They lead 21-7, 6:42 left in the half. Hostetler setting up. He has Hollins deep. He throws for Hollins, and it's picked off. Picked off by Errico. He's back to the West Virginia 40. Reverses field. And Errico slides down at the West Virginia 27-yard line. Rutgers has their first big play of the ball game, and they have excellent field position at the Mountaineer 27.
Well, this is why you don't want your quarterback to throw 35 times a game, and why you don't want him to throw deep downfield. It's worked for West Virginia in this game, but it's not going to work for you on other occasions. Errico, I don't believe, yes, he was the primary coverage man. The ball hung up there, gave Errico time to break in front and come up with the interception. Fine heads-up play. You'll see Hollins has to slow up now. He breaks stride. Quarterback does not have enough on the football. Plants it, tries to come back toward the ball. Errico had a better shot at it, got his body in front of Hollins, and comes up with the interception, and Bill Houston finishes off Mr. Hollins as Errico returns the football, and Rutgers has a chance to get back into this football game.
Big break for Rutgers. They have the field position now at the 27-yard line, and they have 1st and 10. The Prairie leads out the Scarlet Knights. Vernon Williams is the lone setback. Baker comes wide left. The Prairie hands off to Williams, and Williams breaks a couple of tackles, and he's down close to the 20 or the 19-yard line.
The key to this running attack is Joe DiGilio and his ability to handle that nose guard, Dave Obach, their co-captain, one of their better defensive linemen.
Well, that play will come back. Holding was the initial signal by our referee, Thomas Stammert, and it will come back. There's the call, holding Rutgers. Back to the 37-yard line goes the ball.
Yes,
and
that
doesn't like that call.
Well, it upsets him because last week he had 7 turnovers against Cincinnati, and that's what Don Nealon, the man you're looking at now, pointed out to us last week. He thought that there were at least 2 and perhaps 3 games that Rutgers could have won this season or perhaps should have won.
1st and 20 for Rutgers at the 37. LaFrary back to throw. Blitz is on. Throws the ball, and it's almost intercepted. It popped out of the hands of Dwayne Hooper, and the ball was almost picked off by Van Richardson. And if he would have had that football, Sam, he would have been long gone.
Yes, he would have. You'll see the receiver there, but you also see number 73 for Rutgers. He's out there, an offensive lineman. Now watch, he has to duck to avoid the football. He almost caught it, and of course Hooper did not have good vision on the ball because of the presence of the offensive lineman. Number 73 is Tony Regoli. We haven't seen much of him this year.
No, he's just a freshman.
Well, that's why he was there in poor position. He should have been in front of Dwayne Hooper.
In any event, a big break for Rutgers. Roughing the passer was called against West Virginia. Scarlet Knights get an automatic 15 yards and a 1st down at the 22-yard line of West Virginia.
Those penalties evened out, didn't they?
Yes, they did, plus the fact they get the 1st down out of it. So Rutgers with a single setback. That's Paleza. 3 receivers to the right side. In motion goes Baker. Handoff to Dwayne Hooper, and Hooper gets 2 yards at the most on that play. West Virginia not fooled with the tailback coming out of the slot that time as Daniels and Christian made the stop.
Well, Dwayne Hooper had been alternating early in the season with Albert Smith. He broke his hand in the Army game and returned for the first time last week against Cincinnati.
2nd down and 9 at the 21. Rutgers trailing 21-7, 5:26 left first half. Rutgers with an excellent opportunity to get back in it again. Baker comes wide to the left. Hooper is the eye back. LaFrary to throw. Has time. Now the time ends, and he is sacked. Ernie Anderson, Jr. from Colliers, West Virginia, out of nowhere with some help from Steve Hathaway, got to Jack LaFrary.
Well, Hathaway is that defensive end or outside linebacker that leads the team with 12 sacks. Anderson is the backup nose tackle who has been alternating with Dave Oblack, but they converged on LaFrary, didn't they? He had an opportunity to throw that ball away, but of course it's easy to say up here, isn't it? I guess that's a keep warm or protect your nose and
anything to
keep it warm.
This is 3rd and 20 for Rutgers. Ball at the West Virginia 32. LaFrary sets up, looks, fires, and it's incomplete. Intended for Andrew Baker. No interception. Called an incompleted pass. It will bring up 4th and 20 for the Scarlet Knights. They were going for their big play man, Andrew Baker.
Well, this is why receivers constantly talk about the difficulty of catching the football over the middle. Watch the action and the hitting down here as people are converging on each other at full speed. Pretty good pass protection that time. Number 44 has a beat on the football. Somebody deflects it. Really little chance of a completion. Watch, somebody is in front of Baker now.
That's Daniels.
Yeah, Baker really never had a shot at the football after it was deflected. He didn't even know where it was coming. It hit him in the head, actually. He was protecting himself.
And Agee hit him pretty good, didn't he?
Agee's a hitter, isn't he?
Gary Lisk on 4th down, punting for the Coffin corner, and I think he got it. And they'll spot the football at the 2-yard line or so. So Rutgers puts West Virginia in a hole, and the Mountaineers will start very close to their own goal line, depending exactly where Thomas Thammert spots the football. Well, with 4:10 to go in this first half of play, the Mountaineers of West Virginia lead the Scarlet Knights 21-7. You're watching Rutgers football on Madison Square Garden Cablevision.
It brings legends to living rooms in the world of sports. Now also presents diversified entertainment programming, including classic television spy adventures with Patrick McNee and Diana Rigg in The Avengers, trendsetters of the art, fashion, and music world on Andy Warhol's TV, and some of the biggest names in the entertainment world with The Jonathan Schwartz Show, all on the Madison Square Garden Network. Consult your local listings for time and channel or contact your local cable system.
Keep up to date on all the high school action in the metropolitan area each week on the Daily News High School Sports Show. Hi, I'm Bruce Beck. Join Bill Travers and me on Madison Square Garden Cablevision every Monday night at 7 p.m. with repeat telecast Wednesday and Friday evenings, also at 7 p.m. Highlights, rankings, features, and much more on the Daily News High School Sports Show. Illegally touching the football, and West Virginia, instead of starting from the 1, starts from the 20. First down, fullback Ron Wolfley gets the call, and Wolfley with a big gain up to the 25-yard line. So Rutgers almost had the Mountaineers in deep trouble, but instead they start with 20 yards behind them. Now just a coffee break for a couple of the regular players. Get over, get warm, Sam, and then get back in that football game.
Number 4, he's got to be a kicker, too. Well, the coach's son, one of the two. He was a little guy, wasn't he?
Second down and 5 from the 25, straight up the middle again. Wolfley getting 3 yards. It'll bring up 3rd down and short for the Mountaineers. Wolfley is a junior from Orchard Park, New York. And as Sam mentioned, the only player to go over 100 yards this season in a game. His big play this season was a 67-yard fake punt touchdown against Boston College.
Rutgers continues to move people in and out of their defensive unit, especially up front on that defensive line, and moving people around from one side to another.
3rd down 2, 28-yard line. Hostetler hands off, fumble, and West Virginia and Rutgers both scrambling. And the Scarlet Knights look like they have the football. Tyrone Stone, number 41, was jumping up and down with the ball, and Rutgers will get another big break.
Well, Rutgers has just shut off the West Virginia running attack. There you see the offensive guard pulling. Number 99 gets in the middle of things, Lionel Washington, but he didn't make the initial hit. Was that Butch Young who came up to make that tackle?
Jim Dumont, I think, wrestled the ball free, Sam. He made that big pop. And then Rutgers gets the ball. Again, that's the second time today Dumont's forced to fumble. So Rutgers with 2:52 and a half gets another shot at it. Trailing by 14 at the West Virginia 31, 1st and 10. Hand off to Len Beleza, and he goes nowhere. Tried the right side, but ran into Jim Merritt's, Dave O'Block, Rich Walters, and a host of other Mountaineers.
And Tim Agee is always around that football. He's that safety that leads the team in interceptions and tackles. Coach Nealon says he's too little, too cute, too slow, but when you put the bonnet on him, he turns into just a dynamite football player.
Second down, 9, 30-yard line. Single setback again. 2 tight ends and 2 wide receivers for Rutgers. LaPrairie throws, and it's almost intercepted. He threw the ball right into the arms of Eddie Hughes. It is an incompleted pass. It will bring up 3rd and 9.
Well, that's what Don Nealon was talking about when he said that Hostetler has good vision. He meant that he sees everything on the football field and that a quarterback is supposed to see where those linebackers or out defensive end, in this case, whatever you want to call them, is. Obviously, the Prairie did not see Hughes moving into the area because he threw it right at Hughes.
LaPrairie 7 of 13, 3rd and 9, and he's back to throw again. LaPrairie throws across the middle. It's incomplete. Pass intended for Beleza. And Rutgers all of a sudden has a lot of problems moving the football in the air.
No mistakes. He should have held on to that football. The ball was thrown well. He did not have to adjust to it, did not have to turn around. It hit him right in the hands, and Beleza should have held on to it.
Well, this time Tom Angstadt will try a field goal, and this will be a 47-yard attempt. Angstadt is 10 of 13 on the season. He has 42 points to lead Rutgers in that category. And on a couple of occasions, he's hit field goals from 50. So this is within his range. 47-yard attempt by Tom Angstadt. Ball placed down, and he's going to be short. So Angstadt comes up a little bit short, and Rutgers comes up empty. West Virginia will take over with 2:04 left in the first half and leading by 14.
And of course, they got pretty good field position now and can easily get downfield and attempt a field goal of their own. Of course, if Hostetler continues to find the open man as he has been, he is now 8 for 12 for 167 yards, 2 touchdowns and 1 interception. They can do just about anything. They don't have to settle for the field goal.
30-yard line is where the Mountaineers will take over. 1st and 10. West Virginia 7-2, looking for their 3rd consecutive bowl bid. Hostetler throwing long for Wayne Brown. It's incomplete. That pass was 60 yards in the air, and not a wrinkle.
Coverage on the play by Carl Howard and Bill Houston. Good coverage on the play.
Scouts are here this afternoon from the Hall of Fame Bowl, the Peach Bowl, the Citrus Bowl, the Gator Bowl, and the Liberty Bowl, all looking at West Virginia. The first announcement for bowl invitations will be next Saturday, November 19th. Certainly this week's game and next week's game figure very heavily into those final bowl selections. Straight up the middle, Tommy Gray. He runs into Lionel Washington. And Rutgers conceivably could get the football back before halftime and have pretty good field position if they can hold West Virginia on this next play.
Defensive line for Rutgers doing a good job, not trying to take on those offensive people and control them. They're taking a side, taking one side of the offensive man and trying to get penetration, and they are succeeding.
3rd and 10. Gary Mullen comes wide to the left. Wide to the other side goes Hollins. Back to throw is Hostetler rolling out of the pocket. Has a lot of room. Decides to pull up and throw. And he has a first down. He has Willie Drury at the Rutgers 44-yard line, but a flag is down on the play.
He may have crossed the line of scrimmage. You saw him that time looking at Jim Dumont. And when Jim Dumont leaves coverage and comes up to converge on Hostetler, that's when he throws directly over Dumont into the area that he vacated. Now watch, eventually you'll see, I think, 53 coming up into your picture. No, you got a glimpse of him, but that's the area that Dumont would have been in front of that receiver, cutting over the middle. But anyway,
Hostetler threw the ball from beyond the line of scrimmage, Sam, and there's a loss of down, and it will be 4th down, and West Virginia will have to punt it away.
So Jim Dumont played it perfectly. Did not leave coverage until after Hostetler crossed the line of scrimmage, or when he was certain that he was going to cross the line of scrimmage.
Here's the call. It is a loss of down, and West Virginia will have to punt it away as Steve Superick checks into the ball game. Superick, 2nd punt of the day. He waits for it at the 13-yard line. James Shedneck deep for Scarlet Knights. And he waits at the 38-yard line of Rutgers. Still 1:07 left in the first half. Time enough for Rutgers to move the football and get in field goal position. Good punt by Superick. Shedneck at the 35, or is that Danny Errico? And he breaks the tackle. And Errico is at the 50, and he spins to the 45. And Rutgers gets a 20-yard return from Danny Errico. And that is a fine twisting play.
Good return by Errico. Presence of mind, eluded some tacklers, and at the end of the run, when there was nothing to do but put down your head, he picked up an extra yard. Look at that. Ducks under one man. Waits for a block. Bukowski never gets one. Outruns 3 there. Does pick up 1 block. Spins off another. And now just struggles for that extra yard.
49 seconds left first half. Rutgers first and 10. West Virginia 46-yard line. LaPrairie to throw. He is hit by Hughes. And he goes down. Steve Hathaway, who had 12 sacks coming into today's football game, will get credit with number 13.
Built a lot by like Lionel Washington. Both 6 feet 4 inches. He's a little heavier than Washington Hathaway is. He's about 220 pounds, a senior, 12 sacks on the year. Watch him come in from the left. There he is, overpowering Beleza, I believe, or no, it's Vernon Williams. And eventually they converge on LaPrairie.
So the ball comes all the way back to the Rutgers 46-yard line, and it will be second down and long. LaPrairie, who started off very, very hot, is now 50%.
That's a knack, being able to rush the passer from that linebacking position. Some people just are never able to do it, and other people who have the quickness, the speed, the agility, just love to come on the quarterback. I think in the case of Hathaway, his height is certainly an advantage, just as it is for Lionel Washington. Gives you leverage on those shorter offensive backs trying to block you.
Second down and long, 40 seconds left in the first half. Rutgers trails 21-7. LaPrairie back to throw, blitzes on again. LaPrairie gets it away this time to Albert Smith. And Smith gets near the midfield stripe. Steps out of bounds. Will stop the clock with 32 seconds left.
Thought for a moment that LaPrairie just reacted well to the blitzing defensive end or linebacker coming from that side. But after he had released the ball to Albert Smith, it was obvious that that was planned because there were 2 linemen out in front of Smith prepared to block on the play.
3rd and 16 with 32 ticks left, first half of play. Baker comes in motion. LaPrairie back to throw. Pressure again. LaPrairie gets away from 1, gets away from 2, and then finally is sacked by Hathaway back at the 28-yard line. Also pressure from Jeff Lucas from Hackensack, New Jersey.
This is the moment of truth for the offensive linemen. You know those people are going to be rushing the passer. They have a decided advantage in this instance, and you've just got to hang in there and block people. They're not doing a good job of it.
There's Hathaway. He makes the big play, and the first half has come to an end. The fumble occurred after the whistle had flown, and West Virginia takes a 14-point lead into the locker room at halftime. Score, West Virginia 21-58. On the back of the helmets being worn today by West Virginia football players is for teammate Andre Gist, who was killed Sunday in a car crash near campus. Gist was a member of last year's West Virginia football team, and certainly the players will wear decals of Gist's former uniform number 58 on their helmets today as a tribute to their former teammate.
Yeah, unfortunate, untimely, of course, and tragic. Gist had played with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year.
Ready to go for the second half of play. Rutgers will receive the football. The crowd is fired up. A crowd of somewhere over 40,000 showed up today in Morgantown, although the advance sale was well over 50,000. Perhaps the cold weather conditions kept a couple of people away.
Don Nealon, of course, he was upset. They beat Temple last week, and they beat Temple rather decidedly, 27-9. After the game, the coach for Temple, Bruce Arians, said that BC, Boston College, should receive the Lambert Trophy. Evidently, he felt that BC was a better team than West Virginia, and this upset and irked Don Nealon. He felt that he had no business saying that.
Well, we'll see what happens. Second half underway. Dan Errico takes it a yard deep and will bring it out. He's across the 20, across the 30, fumbles the ball, and if it goes out of bounds, Rutgers will keep possession, and it looks like the Scarlet Knights will have the football, 1st and 10.
Yep. Rutgers did not have a turnover, did not suffer from a turnover in the first half. West Virginia turned it over twice, once on an interception, once on a fumble. Of course, last week against Cincinnati, Rutgers turned the football over 7 times, which was instrumental in that 18-7 loss to Cincinnati in Cincinnati.
So Rutgers will have it 1st and 10 from the 34-yard line. And let's see what happens as we begin the third quarter of play. Jack LaPrairie is the quarterback for Rutgers. On first down, he hands to Albert Smith. Big hole, 8 yards, and then some. Tackle made by Steve Hathaway, the senior from Beaver, Pennsylvania.
I don't think Hathaway was in on that tackle because I thought Clement Udovich did a fine job of blocking on him, pulling out. But anyway, Udovich had a good block on somebody.
All right.
Yeah.
Second down and 2, 42-yard line. Rutgers has moved the football, but a couple of times with opportunities, they couldn't push it into the end zone. In motion comes Baker. Alan Andrews has been quiet so far today. LaPrairie in trouble. Still looking, throws incomplete. He was in the arms of Rich Walters, the senior from Glenshaw, Pennsylvania. And Walters, who had a great game last year against Oklahoma, really put pressure on LaPrairie.
Rich Walters, a 3-year starter, defensive tackle. Watch him now. He just wraps him up. That's number 97, wrapped up around number 16. Eventually, wisely, LaPrairie throws it away, and I guess number 33 was in the area, so the official didn't call it.
Third down, Rutgers, 9 yards to go. Ball at the 35. Baker comes left. Pendergrass wide right. LaPrairie to throw. Steps in, throws complete to Beleza, short of a first down at the 39-yard line. Eddie Hughes, the man to make the stop, and West Virginia has held.
Of course, LaPrairie was trying to avoid that pass to Beleza. He knew that it was not adequate or not sufficient for a first down. Could not find anyone deep downfield, was under pressure. Eventually, he had to unload to Beleza.
Gary Lisket's a punt for the 5th time this afternoon. Willie Drury is the deep man for the Mountaineers. Short kick. Drury, 35, gets to the 38. So the Mountaineers will put it in play 1st and 10 from the 38. West Virginia, Sam, came really fired up out of the locker room at the end of the first half of play. 12:52, third quarter. Mountaineers own the lead by 14.
Sometimes, nothing looks better than the high interest rate of a CD until you see a higher rate. But by then, your money's locked up. Now Manufacturers Hanover introduces the account that sets your money free. It's our new Market Plus with Ready Rate. Not only does it offer very high interest, but if a better investment comes along, it actually lets you get the money to take advantage of it. Manufacturers Hanover. Our facts make your money worth more.
West Virginia 1st and 10 for their own 38-yard line. They lead by 14 points. Lone setback is the fullback Wolfley. He gets the call, runs into Jim Dumont and Tyrone Stowe. A pickup of only 2. It will be 2nd down and 8. There's Jimmy Dumont, senior, playing with pride each and every week.
He was our player of the week 3 times back in 1982, and I guess several times this year, leading the team with 118 tackles. Last year, he had 133 tackles for Rutgers, so he has an opportunity to break that record.
Injured player is Bill Legg, the offensive center for West Virginia, and he is being replaced by Rob Shellhass.
Bill Legg was a starter for West Virginia in 1982. In fact, he can play both guard and center. He was switched to guard in 81, moved back to center in 82, and of course has played offensive center throughout the season this year.
2nd down at 8, 41-yard line. Hostetler to throw. Steps into the pocket. Pressure. Hostetler looks, fires, incomplete. Intended for Rob Bennett, but the big pressure came from Bill Beshner.
Yes, good rush. Just 3 people rushing, and they put pressure on the quarterback.
There's a little mountain man, and perhaps the real Mountaineer right beside him.
Boy, he looks the role, doesn't he? Watch the good rush. Bill Beshner, number 65. Well, eventually he overpowers that offensive center, and number 90 gives him some help. That's Harry Swain. Hostetler throws off balance and overthrows his receiver.
3rd and 8, 41. Hostetler rolls, fires, caught by Hollins, and he has first down yardage at the 50. Tyrone Stowe made the stop. but every good wide receiver knows where that first down marker is, and that's exactly what Hollins knew.
Last week, Hostetler hit 14 for 23 for 175 yards. In this game, he is now 9 for 15 for 176 yards.
50-yard line, 1st and 10 Mountaineers. Crowd coming alive. A matter of fact, fans were here as early as 10 a.m. for a 1:30 start today. They take their football seriously. Handoff to Pat Randolph. He gets 3 yards to the left side. Harry Swain came up to make the tackle.
Play awfully slow in developing. Harry Swain was actually on the ground, got up off the turf, and was still able to get in on the tackle. Remember, Harry Swain playing that right tackle on occasion. They've been moving people in and out, going up against Brian Joswiak, and he's giving Joswiak, I guess, about 40 pounds, spotting 40 pounds and about 3 inches.
You really handled that one well.
That name gets me.
2nd down and 7. Rutgers 47-yard line for the Mountaineers, and the handoff goes to Pat Randolph, and he is stopped again by Bukowski and Stowe. Rutgers continues to snuff out the running game of West Virginia.
And you've got to give credit to the defensive coaches for Rutgers, all of them, because the defensive line and the linebackers are doing an outstanding job, aggressive, not trying to overpower people, taking a corner of the offensive player and going through, getting penetration, each man assigned to a gap and each man doing his assignment well.
3rd and 7, 47. West Virginia's been very successful so far today on 3rd down. Hostetler drops, in trouble, and he is dropped. Big pressure from Barry Bukowski, and Hostetler dropped for a loss back at his own 44.
Another example of using your personnel properly and getting the most out of everyone. Shifting people in and out, situation substitutions along the front 7. 3 down linemen and 4 linebackers. That time you see the defensive end or linebacker Bukowski coming in and pulling Hostetler down.
Back in punt formation, Steve Superick, James Shedenek, and Dan Errico deep. Errico will go after the football, and it takes a West Virginia bounce. It's at the 5, and it will be down inside the 5-yard line.
Flag downfield, however. Maybe they'll have an opportunity to do that one over.
Flag is down on the play. Great hustle by number 30, Fred Smalls of West Virginia. The ball will be at the 2, but there are flags down on the play, and the preliminary call is holding against Rutgers. Defensive holding.
And now watch well, he really didn't have to do that. Well, yes, he did, because had he held on to the football, he would have gone into the end zone, and then, of course, it would have been ruled a touchback, so he had to bounce it back onto the field of play.
He did not bat the football the way a Rutgers player did in the first half when Rutgers looked to have held West Virginia in deep trouble. But now the Mountaineers come up with the play. They refuse the penalty against Rutgers, I would think.
Against Rutgers.
No, they will mark that half the distance from the spot. Sam, this is one of those times where you only lose a yard.
Yeah, well, that yard...
It doesn't help.
No, it doesn't help. But this puts great pressure on your offense, and especially your quarterback.
Rutgers will start from the 1-yard line. The Mountaineer fans are going wild. 9:56, 3rd quarter. West Virginia 21, Rutgers 7. The Prairie with a long count. Hands the ball straight up the middle, and a big haul for Vernon Williams. And that was just a sheer good effort on the part of Williams as he gets out to the 9.
How about the offensive center and guard? Joe DiGilio does an outstanding job. And watch number 72, John Owens, pulling out behind the offense. Boy, did he
move.
Did he move. But notice DiGilio still with the nose guard. Ernie Anderson, number 95, well after the ball carrier was downfield.
2nd down and call it 2 for the Scarlet Knights at the 9. Lone setback is Vernon Williams. And the give is to Williams, and he twists and turns and gets a 1st down.
Well, if it works one time, do it again. They ran the same play with the offensive guard, John Owens, pulling once again. Of course, again, the key block or the pressure on the offensive center, Joe DiGilio.
So Rutgers with a little bit of breathing room. They trail by 14 points. Their lone touchdown scored on a short run by Albert Smith. Scarlet Knights 1st and 10 from their own 13. Two wide receivers to the right. Rutgers using a lot of the wing in this football game. The Prairie hands off to the wingback Cooper. Dump for a big loss. That was definitely Steve Hathaway.
Yeah, Steve Hathaway just saw the wingback, Dwayne Hooper, going in motion, and he just follows him and wraps him up just as he gets the handoff from the Prairie. Now watch, there you see him all over. Hathaway just all over Hooper. Hooper never had a chance to break free.
Hathaway, who this year replaced All-American Darryl Talley and has filled the void extremely well.
Talley will be playing tomorrow against the Jets at Shea Stadium. He's with the Buffalo Bills.
He can hit. 2nd and 16, 8-yard line for Rutgers. Now they go back to the conventional I, and the handoff is to Hooper, and he goes nowhere. Tremendous pressure that time by Jimmy Merritt. And this West Virginia football team, with eyes on a 3rd consecutive trip to a bowl, is really fired up.
Jim Merritt's number 96 leads the team in tackles. You see him breaking to the inside. Panucci tries to stay with him. That's about all he could do. Had Hooper had well, it would have been very difficult. His only chance was to break behind the block as Panucci was still with Merritt.
Rutgers punts on 3rd down, and Gary Liska drills it out to the 42-yard line. Steve Newberry made the fair catch, and West Virginia is in Rutgers territory, leading by 14 with 7:37 left in the 3rd quarter of play. Out the Mountaineers. 1st and 10, Rutgers 42. Hostetler will put it up on 1st down. Rolls, looks, fires, complete to Hollins. 1st down and more at the Rutgers 26.
Nice completion by Hostetler. You saw him rolling to the left. Always a tough assignment for a right-handed quarterback. Has to stop, plant his left foot, and then throw the football. Good pass protection. Hard to get a rush on the quarterback when he's rolling like that, but he has a great many blockers there. Good block, I believe, on Lionel Washington. You see him try to plant that foot, stop, and then throw the football. Still somewhat off balance, but he got it to his receiver.
Gary Mullen wide right. 1st and 10, Rutgers 26, and somebody jumped in the middle of that Rutgers line. It was Billy Bechner.
They do just about everything, this West Virginia offensive unit. Drop back passes, roll out passes. About the only thing they don't do is run the option play. And Don Nehlen says it's hard to be a good passing team and teach the option well. And that's the reason he's not crazy about the option play. He says your quarterback gets banged up and it takes practice time away from the pass. He wants his quarterback to practice the passing game all the time. Rest of the team divides their time between the pass and the run, but the quarterback stays with the passing game, and he feels that putting in the option play just takes time away from that and isn't worth the effort.
5-yard penalty assessed to Rutgers. 1st and 5, West Virginia. Rutgers 21. Wolfley dumped at the line of scrimmage by Tyrone Stowe. We talked about him in the open, and he continues to hustle.
He's going to be an outstanding football player. A little bit undersized this year at 6'2", only 205 pounds, but he's a freshman, and you know that by the time he's finished, he's going to weigh 220, 225 with weight training. Bechner gets buried that time, so all the pressure was on Stowe. The running back had a lot of room to maneuver. Just a good tackle, but Jim Dumont was also there to back up Stowe.
Hostetler rolls on 2nd and 5, fires, complete to Bennett. Touchdown, West Virginia.
The big play has hurt Rutgers today.
3rd touchdown pass of the afternoon for Hostetler, and Bennett, the junior from Buckhannon, West Virginia, is into the end zone.
Well, for a tight end, his average coming into today's game was very impressive. 16.2 yards per reception. Good for a tight end. Pass right on target. Just waiting for the football. And once again, between a number of defenders, but nobody close enough to be a factor on the play.
Good-sized target, 6'6", 240.
How can a guy that big get lost over the middle like that?
Paul Woodside on for the point after touchdown, and he drills it. Woodside has now hit 53 consecutive extra points in his career at West Virginia. The Mountaineers have opened up a 21-point lead.
Madison Square Garden Cablevision, the network that brings legends to living rooms in the world of sports, now also presents diversified entertainment programming, including classic television spy adventures with Patrick McNee and Diana Rigg in The Avengers, trendsetters of the art, fashion, and music world on Andy Warhol's TV, and some of the biggest names in the entertainment world with The Jonathan Schwartz Show, all on the Madison Square Garden Network. Consult your local listings for time and channel or contact your local cable system.
Catch all the excitement of big-time college football each week when Madison Square Garden Cablevision presents all the highlights of two of Eastern football's major powers. Every game of the defending national champion Nittany Lions of Penn State is highlighted each week on MSG Cablevision, as well as every game of their cross-state rivals, the Pitt Panthers. Check your local listings for time and day, Penn State and Pitt highlight shows. It's all part of the college football scene this season on Madison Square Garden Cablevision.
Well, Frank Burns has to be concerned now. His club has fallen behind by 3 touchdowns and another brilliant touchdown throw by Jeff Hostetler. And Paul Woodside kicks off for West Virginia. Dan Errico fumbles the ball in the end zone and will have to down the ball, and Rutgers will start from the 20.
Well, a good team can make an average quarterback look good, and when you have a good quarterback and a pretty good offensive team, of course, the quarterback can look outstanding, and Hostetler has been outstanding today. 11 for 17 for 213 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Mountaineers strike quickly, don't they? 3 plays in the last drive, and they don't use up much of the clock. First down, Rutgers, 20-yard line. Trailing by 21. 6:26, third quarter of play. LaPrairie back to throw on first down. Has time, fires, and it's complete for a first down. Andrew Baker up at the 31-yard line. And Baker, who has some amazing statistics on the season, averaging over 27 yards per reception, holds in another one.
Boy, he's had some long ones, haven't he? That time he just hooked up, and that's what you want to do when they're in zone coverage like that. Just hook up, and of course the quarterback has to read it, and he has to deliver the football as you're about to make your break and turn and face him.
Baker, 3 catches, 23 yards. First and 10, Rutgers, 31-yard line. Give to Vernon Williams, and Williams continues to power his way for 6 or 7, following Owens and DeGilio and Rigoli.
Well, Rutgers has about 80 yards rushing, but I have a feeling that they have more than that. It's the sacks and the losses which make that less impressive. LaPrairie has been thrown 4 times for 42 yards, so you add that to the rushing yardage, and they've run well today.
Second down and 4 at the 37. Straight up the middle, Williams short of a first down. It will be third down and a yard and a half. Dave Preston and Steve Hathaway both in on the stop.
And of course, quarterback sacks are counted as lost yardage against the running game. Maybe one of the reasons that West Virginia had just an average rush of 3.2 yards per carry coming into today's game, because Hostetler had carried 71 times for 0.2 yards per carry. So of course that influences the rushing average.
Third and call it 1. Straight give up the middle. Williams stood up. I don't know. Dave Preston and a host of other black shirts were there. There's Preston, junior from Warren, Ohio, and he plays with enthusiasm.
Boy, when you need the crucial yardage, you go to the play that has been successful in the past. And they had good yardage in the past, pulling John Owens, the right guard, and running right up the middle, but not that time.
West Virginia has held. 4th down and 2 feet. Rutgers will punt it away. Liska back at his 25. Drury drops back deep for West Virginia at his 25. Drury, fair catch at the 30-yard line, and West Virginia will start there, 1st and 10. This program is authorized by Madison Square Garden Productions Incorporated solely for the entertainment of our audience. Any publication, rebroadcast, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this event, including the imposition of a charge for viewing the program without the express written consent of Madison Square Garden Productions Incorporated, is prohibited. And the announcers on this telecast were selected by Madison Square Garden Productions Incorporated.
And I think that Madison Square Garden's Productions Incorporated is going to insist upon the window being open regardless of the temperature outside in the future, because it does make a difference, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. And Hostetler goes back to throw on first down. Fires complete to Hollins, has a first down at the 42-yard line. Hollins has been exceptional today. That is his 7th reception, and he now has 96 catches on his career.
Well, that's a tough combination, isn't it? Tough combination. Hostetler, you know, I think the thing that marks all good quarterbacks is their poise under pressure. He doesn't have any pressure on him, does he? Look at this. He's relaxed. I think that's
Cold doesn't bother him. There's Hollins' stats in the afternoon. Definite pro prospect. This is Pat Randolph, and he is stopped for a loss. Good hustle by Joe Corbin, who gets into the ball game as a backup strong safety, also plays on special teams, and he is just a hard worker.
He started the season as a nickelback, and he started a few games for Harold Young, and they've been alternating, but he is one of the 5 defensive backs, so you have to consider him a starter for Rutgers in the defensive secondary.
2nd and 13, West Virginia. They lead by 21 with 3:06 left, third quarter. Hostetler rolls, looks, throws, complete. Short of a first down. Caught by Willie Drury, young man from Northern Burlington High School in Columbus, New Jersey. Sam, I had him in a high school all-star game a couple of years ago. He scored something like 40 touchdowns his senior year. Just remarkable. Here at West Virginia, they moved him from a running back to a receiver.
I guess it takes some time, but yesterday, Don Nealon expressed some disappointment in the progress of Drury.
Well, he still has the capacity to make a big play. In the Gator Bowl last year, he had an 82-yard punt return. Still has another year at West Virginia. Draw play and upended as woefully by Tyrone Stowe. And again, Stowe read the play, was not fooled by the fake, and made the tackle.
Either an excellent reaction on the part of Stowe, or perhaps he was blitzing on the play. I tend to believe it was just good reaction. You see a gaping hole, which means that he has to make a sure tackle, and he sure does on Ron Wolfley.
Hunting time, West Virginia, 4th and 6 at the 45. Steve Superick, he's had a good afternoon. His long 54 yards. Dan Errico deep for Rutgers. Scarlet Knights almost got a piece of that punt. What a shot by Superick into the end zone. He'll get credit with a 55-yard punt, and Rutgers will have to start from their own 20-yard line. Boy, that kicking game makes such a difference.
Boy, doesn't it? Especially when you control the football. I guess what most coaches would like to do is have a ball control type offense, not necessarily running all the time. Obviously, you've got to pass the ball and you've got to be balanced, but then you supplement that with good defense and a good kicking game, and you're there.
You saw the story. Rutgers starts out from their own 20. LaPrairie to throw. Hathaway after him. Passes complete to Andrews, and Andrews is up to the 27-yard line.
And of course, with time running down here in the third quarter, about a minute and a half to play, I think that Rutgers may have to change their game plan a little bit. They've been successful on the ground, but trailing by 3 touchdowns, they may have to put the ball in the air a little more.
Andrews on the afternoon. 1 catch, 6 yards. He now has 41 this season, 8 shy of the Rutgers season record set by Tim Odell in 1980 of 49 catches. LaPrairie back to throw. Fires, complete, first down. Baker gets away from one man and gets to the 43-yard line. Each week, Sam and I talk to the coaches from other teams, and each week they always say, we respect that young man Baker. He's a good player.
Well, you've got to respect him. He had a 31-yarder against Tennessee, and he's had 6 other catches for that much yardage or longer. In fact, he had a 76-yarder against Penn State. He can hurt you with a bomb, as Hostetler has hurt Rutgers today.
1st and 10 Rutgers, 42-yard line, trailing by 3 touchdowns. LaPrairie sets up, fires, and incomplete. 3 or 4 men around Andrew Baker, Derek Christian among them, and it will go as an incompleted pass.
Jim Merritt's number 96 led West Virginia in tackles last year. on the defensive line. Let's see what he does this time. Comes in, offensive tackle. I believe that's number 74. Sets up well. It's Jim Keating. Takes an inside move. Now, see, he wraps up Keating there. And, of course, well, does Keating let go of that arm? No, I wouldn't either, to tell you the truth.
Keating didn't do a bad job.
No, he did a good job of staying with him.
2nd and 10. Rutgers stays on the ground, and Vernon Williams picks up 3.
But I think that was a good example, Bruce, of how easy it is for an offensive lineman to get called for holding, because you saw that Merritt actually put his arm under Keating, you see? And now it's a question of, does Keating let up? No. All right, that time he took an inside rush. Keating just tried to stay with him. That was the only thing he could do. Not a bad effort. He won't get a bad grade on that, despite the fact that Merritt was in on the tackle. Perhaps the back should have broken to the outside of Keating on the play.
3rd down, 8. LaFrari, last play of the 3rd quarter, fires, incomplete, intended for Baker, and really racked up by Anthony Daniels, the strong safety, number 8.
Let's look at Merritt and Keating once again. We're purposely isolating on them to give you an idea of what goes on up front. Put out those arms. As long as you're retreat blocking, you can do that. You saw Merritt shove off the arms. Get away. You can't do that. But a good job overall by Keating. Once again, on a ratio of 1 to 4, on a grade of 1 to 4, he gets a 3 on that play.
3rd quarter complete. Mountaineer Field, Morgantown, West Virginia. The score, West Virginia 28, Rutgers 7. We'll be back with more football in just a moment. A look back at Mountaineer Field, Morgantown, West Virginia. The Mountaineers lead 28-7 over the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers. And back on 4th down and 8, Willie Drury looking for the football as Gary Liska will punt it away for the Scarlet Knights. West Virginia 7-2, looking for a bowl bid. And Liska just gets the punt away. Drury's exciting. He has it at the 22, gets away from a couple. He's at the 40.
Watch out.
And he gets to the 50. He broke one last year in the Meadowlands against Rutgers. This time a 30-yard return, and the Mountaineers again in Rutgers territory. John Cummins made the tackle.
Let's see how he eludes this first wave. This is the trick now to get by them. Breaks down. Everybody breaks down. Looked to be in pretty good position. They just didn't converge on him quickly enough. Perhaps some of those people, number 43, number 97, broke down too far away from Drury. They should have been a little closer before they stopped to make sure they got a sure tackle on him.
Hostetler going for all the marbles, incomplete. Hollins was covered very, very well by Dan Herrica, who has played a solid football game for Rutgers. There's Haas, Jeff Hostetler, 5th in all-time passing yardage at West Virginia.
After you pronounce his name, Hostetler, several times, and you're trying to do it hurriedly, now I know why they call him Haas.
It's easier.
Isn't it?
16-5 is West Virginia under Hostetler. Last week against Temple, 14 of 23. He's 5th in total offense. The all-time list, he does it all. Hostetler rolls, looks, throws, complete. And another first down. Willie Drury was the man that pulled in that pass, and Drury is having some afternoon.
Linebacker has dual responsibility. He's got responsibility for the run and the pass. Watch Tyrone Stowe. He drops back here, and this is the hardest thing for a freshman linebacker to do. Now watch how close he is to number 35. He's got deeper coverage than Bob Dumont, but I have the feeling that he should have been a little bit more to the outside and a little bit closer to Drury as he caught the football. 1st and 10, handoff to Pat Randolph, and Randolph is inside the Rutgers 30 to the 28. Flag down on the play. It may have been a late hit or a face mask. Okay, obviously, the Rutgers team, the defensive unit, was in zone coverage on that previous play when we had the isolation on Tyrone Stowe. When you're in zone coverage, you obviously don't want two people as close as Tyrone Stowe and Dumont were on that play. Let's see what happens on this one. The handoff to Gray. Breaks to the outside. Boy, there wasn't much of an opening there, was it? He's eventually wrestled down. And was that considered a late hit?
No, it was a personal foul. Yes, it may very well have been a late hit.
That's what it was.
Yep. Here's a look at the statistics through 3 quarters of play. West Virginia has turned it over twice. Rutgers has not turned it over at all, but West Virginia has done it in the air, and that's the big stat. Hostetler with 3 touchdown passes. Time of possession almost identical. First down and 10 to go for the Mountaineers at the Rutgers 14. Hostetler rolls left, looks, throws, and it's caught at the 1-yard line. Great catch by Wayne Brown, another Somerville, New Jersey product who played for Coach Jerry Moore, and West Virginia has first and goal at the 2.
Well, Wayne Brown just does an outstanding job. Once again, Hostetler throwing on the run. He seems to do that as well or better than here. Now, you saw that receiver, Brown, use his body to keep the defender away from him. Not a very big body, 6'1", 180 pounds, but he used it well. And Hostetler right on target.
Spotted at the 1-yard line. First and goal, Mountaineers. Full house backfield. And Rutgers has stopped West Virginia on first down. Jimmy Dumont made the hit. Ron Wolfley was the ball carrier, who will bring up a second down and short. Sam, the last time West Virginia got close, Hostetler ran a bootleg. I don't know if he'll do it again, but it was executed so well the first time, you might have to think about it.
Well, if history is an indication, there's a good chance that he will run it again, because he not only did it in this game against Rutgers, he's done it quite a few times this season, and it's been a very successful play for them.
Second down, goal at the 1. Straight give, Wolfley, touchdown, West Virginia. And the Mountaineers have 34 points with 13 minutes and 15 seconds left in the football game.
Well, you don't get the impression that West Virginia is just dominating or overpowering Rutgers, but when you look up at that scoreboard, it certainly appears that way, doesn't it? It's been the big play primarily, and they have not had great success in running with the football, but this time in the short yardage situation, they get the surge, not much of a surge, but enough to get Wolfley over the goal line. You saw number 15, Bill Houston, and Corbin, and several others coming up, but not quite fast enough.
Paul Woodside looking for point number 35, and they say he's absolutely academic. They say he's money in the bank. West Virginia has extended their lead to 4 touchdowns. They lead 35-7 with 13:15 left to play. Soaring here at Mountaineer Field as the fans and perhaps some of the die-hard enthusiasts sense another bowl invitation. West Virginia today playing before scouts from the Hall of Fame, Peach, Citrus, Gator, and Liberty Bowl, and looking to improve to 8-2.
Well, the last 2 touchdowns for West Virginia, you've got to really credit the Rutgers offense and their special teams for both of those touchdowns. They had to travel just 42 yards for the first one and only 48 yards for the second. Obviously, they started with good field position.
Woodside bounces it to the 10-yard line, and Rutgers' Albert Smith returning the ball to the 27-yard line. That last Mountaineer scoring drive again happened so quickly. 6 plays, 48 yards, a minute 34, and Wolfley scoring his 4th touchdown of the season.
You know, Rutgers has had some long pass plays this season, the ones to Baker. They came into today's game with an impressive 11.5 yards per completion via the pass. However, opposing teams have averaged 12.2 yards, and certainly that percentage has been increased today because Hostetler has hurt them with a bomb repeatedly.
Joe Corbin is the injured Rutgers player down the field. West Virginia fans come from all over the state. The enrollment here at the university, 22,000. And the crowd, well, the seating here at Mountaineer Field holds well over 50, somewhere near 60 when they need to really press everybody into the corners. 35-7, West Virginia leads Rutgers, and we'll take a timeout with 13:09 to play.
Now playing on ColecoVision, Mr. Do and Time Pilot, 2 of the best new arcade games for the best system made. This is Time Pilot, a battle with aircraft from the past and the future. Homing missile! Got him! Uh-oh, blue bomber! And this is Mr. Do. Mow a path to his fruit and start picking, but don't get picked off. Powerball! Nice shot. Mr. Do and Time Pilot, now playing on ColecoVision. The best system in town keeps getting better.
If a restaurant charges you extra just because you paid with a credit card, you'd probably never go there again. But that's what some gas stations are trying to get away with. Look, they say their cash island costs less. That means their credit card island costs more. Getty doesn't go in for that kind of fancy footwork. Cash, Visa, or MasterCard, it's the same low price. You don't pay a penny more to charge. We give you more credit than that. At Getty, the proof is at the pump.
Frank Burns and the Scarlet Knights of Rutgers face an unenviable task, trailing 35-7 with 13:09 left in the ball game. Rutgers with it, 1st and 10 for their own 27-yard line. LaPrairie back to throw on 1st down. Scramble. He's back to the 30, has a 1st down. He's at the 40, and he's out of bounds at the 44-yard line. Fine individual run by LaPrairie, knocked out of bounds by Steve Newberry.
Tim Agee is the weak safety. He's frequently free. They sometimes call him the free safety. Looks at the quarterback a great deal as he doesn't have specific responsibility. Takes his deep drop into center field. Sees the receiver coming into that area. He was covering Andrew Baker. Number 81 was going to help on him. Then, of course, the quarterback moves out to his left, and you saw Agee recover and try to get there.
1st and 10, 44-yard line. LaPrairie straight drop back. Blitz is on. The swing pass is incomplete. The pass intended for Dwayne Hooper, and the pressure came from strong safety Anthony Daniels, who was red dogging on the play.
Two good safeties, frequently a key to a defense, because the safety, somewhat like a linebacker, has dual responsibility, more responsibility on the running game than do the cornerbacks. So you've got to have some hitters at the safety position, and they have two good ones in Anthony Daniels and Tim Agee.
2nd down and 10, Rutgers, 44-yard line. LaPrairie looks to the air, fires to a wide-open Andrews. He's into West Virginia territory, has a 1st down at the 42-yard line. 2nd catch this afternoon for Andrews, 7 away from the all-time single-season record for most receptions in one campaign.
A lot of times that free safety just doesn't seem to be doing anything, but you've got to remember that he's in pass coverage. Watch when he takes his drop now. This indicates zone coverage as he's going back immediately instead of going across field to cover a receiver. Never gets close to the ball carrier, but you see what he does in that secondary with his deep drop and then reaction to the football.
LaPrairie fires incomplete. One of the few times you'll see Baker just drop the ball. He was trying to run perhaps before he had the pigskin in his possession. 2nd and 10 for the Scarlet Knights. West Virginia leading 35-7. 12:26 left in the football game. 2nd down and 10 for Rutgers. LaPrairie drop back in trouble, and he somehow gets it away, but the blitz was on. Right cornerback Mike Scott really pegged Jack LaPrairie.
Well, the fans are calling for a penalty as LaPrairie just threw the ball up. It was a screen forming to the right. The offensive line did not do a good job of faking it. They allowed the people in too quickly. I believe that the official did not call LaPrairie for intentional grounding, as the intended receiver was knocked to the ground on the play. I believe it was Hooper. He couldn't get out to catch the football. There were two offensive linemen there. Good call by the official.
3rd down, 10, Rutgers, West Virginia 42.
Of course, you can hit the intended receiver behind the line of scrimmage.
LaPrairie to throw, gets a good block from Hooper, gets away from one man in trouble, and a wave of black shirts call a team meeting on Jack LaPrairie's body that time.
Well, it makes it so much easier when you know a team is behind by 4 touchdowns and has to throw the football, and now those defensive people just tee off. Everybody's coming. You see number 37, the linebacker, coming. All of the defensive linemen, another linebacker coming from the other side, and they all converge on LaPrairie. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people. Go down, Jack.
He's a hustler. He's a fighter.
Sometimes you've got to go down.
Yeah,
That's just pointless.
I guess for your health. But remember against Reggie White a couple weeks back how he took a couple of hits and got up, and Coach Dick Curl said to us, I don't know why he got up sometimes, but
inexperience.
Got the no, I don't think so. I think I would say
toughness.
I know, toughness and heart and everything else. Thomas stammered over to try to get the West Virginia coaching staff under control. In any event, Rutgers will have to punt it away in 4th and 15.
He's got 4 touchdowns. It's time to relax, tell him. That coach on the sidelines.
Steve Newberry drops back deep for West Virginia this time. And a fair catch is called and made at the 12-yard line. No, you can't run with the football after you call for that fair catch. So the Mountaineers will start from their own 12-yard line with visions of another bowl game in their minds and a 28-point victory or a 28-point lead at this point on time, 11:37 to play.
If you're ready for high-performance photography, the Minolta X700 program system is ready for you. Computerized, motorized, systematized, total capability, from fully programmed where you said nothing, even with flash, to creative manual where you control everything. The high-performance Minolta X700, voted Camera of the Year on 2 continents. Only from the mind of Minolta. Unbelievable. Simply unbelievable. I fly a lot of miles on TWA and I can earn free tickets. But now TWA also counts miles I fly on Eastern and Qantas. My miles add up faster, so I can earn free tickets sooner. Free tickets to almost anywhere on Earth. Imagine TWA doing that. What in the world will they think of next? You're gonna like TWA.
Bruce Beck, Sam DeLuca back at Mountaineer Field, Morgantown, West Virginia. And the Mountaineers continue to lead this football game. And on first down, Pat Randolph gets the call. The freshman gets a couple of yards. He's stopped by Tyrone Stowe. Let me tell you, Sam, what Jimmy Dumont told me the other day about Tyrone Stowe. I said, Jim, do you think Stowe's going to be a good football player? He said, he's so much bigger and he's so much quicker than I was as a freshman. I think he's going to be great. And when a guy is as good as Dumont, sometimes you think, well, he'd say, well, he needs time. He's going to become a decent ball player. But as unselfish as Dumont is, he says Stowe's just going to be marvelous.
Well, a good football player, that's one of the marks. They're never the petty jealousies and so on. And all they try to do is help others because they're secure within themselves. Let's take another look at Tyrone Stowe, the freshman linebacker, inside linebacker, responsibility for the run and the pass, fill the hole. Ooh, he fills it. Fills it, pretty good tackle. Could have been a little bit higher, perhaps. He's happy with himself. He's pleased. He gets a 4 on that one.
He's quicker and perhaps stronger than Dumont was as a freshman.
Well, Dumont was small as a freshman, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. Hostetler rolls out, still looking, doesn't want to step over the line, dumps it across the middle, it's incomplete. And Dan Errico was all over Willie Drury. Errico has just played a great football game.
Yes, he has. He had plenty of time to release that football. Let's take one more look at Tyrone Stowe and see how we would grade him on this play. Remember what the quarterback was doing now. He's rolling out. He's moving in that direction. He obviously has responsibility for covering the fullback, number 36, Ron Wolfley, on the play. He's all over him. Hey, you're not going to get away from me. And when necessary, put his hands on him, which he shouldn't have done. 4th
down, Steve Superick punts the ball away. Errico makes the catch at his own 48. Fumbles the ball, Rutgers recovers. Barry Bukowski recovered the fumble, and Rutgers will have the ball at their own 45 or so.
Bruce, on several occasions we've mentioned the presence of many scouts from different bowls here to scout West Virginia. I wonder what they're looking for. I wonder if, aside from the fact that they want to see a good football team and they want to see an impressive victory, I wonder if the quarterback isn't a key factor, if they don't want to see Hostetler throw the bomb, and certainly he has pleased them today to create some excitement for their bowls.
On first down, LaPrairie drops, looks, fires, complete. First down, Rutgers 39-yard line, and it's Andrew Baker. I have to think you're right. That's why Doug Flutie and Boston College are such a great bowl attraction, because he's so exciting that every bowl wants to have somebody like that.
So I imagine they want good football teams, but also exciting football teams, and there's no doubt that the pass, or the bomb anyway, is what the home run is to baseball.
Fans love the pass, don't they? First and 10, Rutgers, 39 of West Virginia. And the handoff is to Vernon Williams, and he carries a couple of people with him, including Derek Christian. And Vernon Williams has played as well as he has all season long.
Yeah, and you ask why a running play when you're down 35-7 in the fourth quarter with 9:41 remaining? Because if you don't run it occasionally, those defensive people just tee off as they did on the last series of downs, and they don't give your quarterback an opportunity to throw the football anyway. So you've got to remain balanced and unpredictable.
Williams this afternoon has 13 carries for 61 yards. He is being attended to by a couple of Rutgers people at the 45-yard line. He has worked very hard. The Owls of Temple fly into Rutgers Stadium next week for the finale of the 1983 football season. Sam and I will be there to bring you all the exciting action next Saturday night at 10:30, Sunday morning at 9 a.m. right here on Madison Square Garden Cablevision. Final game next week for Jim Dumont and a host of other Rutgers seniors. The Prairie threw this one away, and it's incomplete, and Travis Curtis is just talking to himself and saying, I should have had that interception. It would have been his first. He's a freshman from Potomac, Maryland.
Well, the Prairie had his receiver. He just overthrew him, and it should have been intercepted. An injured player on the field. It's a Rutgers player. Is it the Prairie?
Yes, it is.
I don't think so.
No, it is not La Prairie. It is Beleza.
And it looks like a leg injury. He seems to be pointing to his ankle, which is always no. When they bend it like that, it's normally a knee that he's examining. And what he's testing for there is some movement in the knee. When the ligaments are gone and the orthopedic surgeon grabs it like that, he can tell if it's unusually loose and if there is indeed a chance of ligament damage, which of course is what they're concerned about. The fact that he's bending it like that is somewhat of a good indication. He's obviously in pain, isn't he? Good football player.
West Virginia leading Rutgers 35-7, 9:28 left in the fourth quarter. And here's a look at the passing statistics so far today. Both teams with about the same completions, but look at the yardage difference.
You know, and I had mentioned before, in all of their winning efforts this season, West Virginia has averaged 23 attempts a game, which is, I think, ideal. When Miami had their good years, the Miami Dolphins, Greasy would throw about 20 times a game, 20 to 22 times a game.
Third down 6, Rutgers, 35-yard line of West Virginia. The Prairie rolls out, and he is sacked. The dancing man is Scott Dixon of Canton, Ohio. And don't think the second-string defensive unit doesn't enjoy the opportunity to show that they can play football.
And he's a defensive end, an outside linebacker. They know that La Prairie is going to pass, so they're sending both of their outside linebackers, attempting to put pressure on him rather than drop into coverage, and it has been successful here in the second half. La Prairie has not had time to throw.
Gary Liska back in punt formation at his own 44. Good punt. Out of bounds at the 14-yard line. And that's where West Virginia will have it. 1st and 10. You know, Gary Liska and Tom Angstead, I was talking to both of them the other day. Kickers are not what I would call strange. I would say unique. They have different patterns. They do different things to psych themselves up for every game. And what Liska and Angstead do for every game is listen to music. They listen to Don McLean's American Pie. Remember that song? They listen to that every single game to get psyched, and for some reason they had a good first game and they stuck with that theme throughout the season. And they also listen to the Cars' first album. Gary Mullen catches that pass from Hostetler. Good for a West Virginia first down. Dan Errico back on the coverage.
I always knew that the kickers were strange, but American Pie?
You know, they share the same apartment, Sam. They room together on the road. They both can't put food down before a game. And they've become very close. And they were throwing footballs one day in practice. I was asking what they were doing. They were saying, just trying to stay loose. 1st and 10, West Virginia. And straight up the middle, Wolfley. He gets a yard at the most second down and about 8.
Lionel Washington, good range for a defensive end. Let's watch him, number 99. Is that the big tight end blocking on him? Well, the big tight end does a job on Lionel that time. No, it wasn't. It was number 76, I'm sorry. An offensive tackle, and he just overpowered and overwhelmed Washington.
Hostetler rolls out, fires, and it's caught. Wayne Brown from Somerville, New Jersey, makes the catch. Carl Howard back in coverage for Rutgers. Brown, West Virginia University's premier receiver. Last year at 14 catches, this year 15, but he certainly can't match up with Hollins. They say he's the premier receiver, but I would say Hollins is because of the tremendous season he's having. But don't take anything away from Brown's ability to play. Great to have depth, isn't it?
Boy, isn't it? None of their receivers have blazing speed, but certainly they've done an adequate, or more than adequate, an excellent job today. Again, it points up the fact that you don't need the blazing speed if you've got everything else going for you.
1st and 10. Hostetler back to throw. Fires, incomplete. Back on the coverage with John Cummins. I wonder if the reason Hostetler and that first-string offensive unit is still in the game, leading by 4 touchdowns with 7
throwing
minutes
on
to go,
first down.
is because there's so many bowl scouts here. I wonder if that changes your philosophy a little
Remember
bit.
the last game of the 1982 season in Pittsburgh? Dan Marino continued to throw in the second half, even though Pittsburgh had the game locked at that time. And I'm sure that was one of the reasons, and I'm sure the other reason was Marino himself trying to live up to that All-America Heisman Trophy billing.
Hand off to Pat Randolph, and Randolph gets 6 on the right side.
But you've got to give Don Shula credit for overlooking the inordinate number of interceptions that Marino threw last year. Shula had the confidence in himself, the fact that, hey, the kid has everything else. He can throw. He's got poise and confidence. If we can get him to throw to the right areas and read coverages, he's going to make it, and certainly it looks as if he's a find for Miami.
West Virginia 50% today on 3rd down conversions. They have a 3rd and 6 at their own 43, and the handoff to Pat Randolph. He breaks it for a first down into Rutgers territory.
And of course, another reason that perhaps Hostetler was throwing on first down is because they haven't had great success in running with the football. So again, an attempt to keep the defense off balance and not allowing them to just concentrate on the run. He came out throwing on first down. You know, let's play fair, fellas. Let's balance it out.
That's Kevin White, a junior from Casa Grande, Arizona, warming up on the sidelines. He's a second-string quarterback for the Mountaineers, and last year led the club to victories over East Carolina and Temple when Hostetler was injured. Holding called against the Mountaineers. That last play will come back to the 35.
Of course, the coaches would never say this, but the sports information director here at West Virginia is pretty much an indication of what the coaches feel, and they felt that they could have really run up the score against Temple last week. As it was, they won 27-9 and then were criticized for not being as good as Boston College.
Hostetler going long for Brown, and he had it momentarily and dropped it, and Errico perhaps helped knock that ball away.
I don't think I would have done a dance if I were Dan Errico on that last play, because Brown had him beaten, and the only reason it was not a completion and perhaps a touchdown was the fact that Brown bobbled the football. You can see he's got a few steps on him now. Okay, the ball hangs up a little bit. He slows up, bounces off his shoulder pad. Errico did get a hand on the football, but had Brown not bobbled it, it probably would have gone for a touchdown.
Superick back in punt formation, and West Virginia gives it back to Rutgers. 30-yard line, Errico, 35, and Errico spins to the 41-yard line.
And I wonder if Errico would have done that little dance, and I'm not criticizing him. He was just happy, okay? It was a genuine expression of happiness. But you see more and more of that pervading all levels of football, and I wonder if Mark Gastineau doesn't deserve some of the credit, the dubious credit, for that.
The Prairie back to throw on first down, fires across the middle, and it's incomplete. Headed for Baker. Back in coverage, Tim Agee, there he is. One of the hardest hitting little men in college football, leads the team in interceptions and tackles. And he's a pre-law student.
And he's a hitter, all right. Leading tackler, and leading the team in interceptions. Coming in today's game, he had 96 tackles and 6 interceptions for West Virginia.
Vernon Williams, straight up the middle. 6 minutes and change left in the game. West Virginia leads 35-7. Rutgers next week will have Temple.
In second and long yardage, you hand off to your fullback. People say why, with only 5:52 remaining, because you're not completing many bombs, and hopefully the defense is looking for the long pass, loosening up, and perhaps you can get a first down on the handoff to the fullback.
Here's LaPrairie back to throw. Pressure's on, and he goes down back at the 32.
Well, nobody picked him up that time. He just came free on LaPrairie.
Scott Dixon again. That's his second sack of the afternoon. And he's a second-string outside linebacker, as Sam mentioned. But when you get into the football game, you can't ask a player to do anything but give his all, and that's what Dixon's doing.
He certainly has done that. But somebody on that Rutgers offensive unit, if not a lineman, one of the backs, so the tight end should have picked him up. He came free on LaPrairie.
Gary Liska back at his 18-yard line. Willie Drury deep for the Mountaineers. And will we see a return? No. Fair catch, 31-yard line, and West Virginia has the ball. Sam, I think at this point it's apropos to talk about pride, because Rutgers at this point of the football game looks like they're out of it, down 4 touchdowns with 4:53 to play. And the one thing you have to say about this Rutgers football team is we see them every week, and sometimes they're playing some pretty good teams, and they never put their heads down and never quit.
It has to be a reflection on that man right there, Frank Burns. Okay, he doesn't say very much on the sidelines. He's not all over people, but I think that he's instilled that need to win, the will to win, the pride that you were talking about in his players.
First down and straight up the middle, the handoff to Tommy Bowman. He gets maybe a yard on the play, and that's all.
You know, Don Nealon was talking yesterday about overscheduling. He said that it was counterproductive. He felt that West Virginia was very lucky to be doing as well as they have done over the last few years, despite a tough schedule. And there you see, he's finally taking Hostetler out of the football game. I would say it's about time, with 4:21 remaining, and West Virginia leading by 35-7. But we'll get back to that scheduling conversation in a moment.
2nd and 9. Kevin White's first pass of the afternoon. It's incomplete, intended for Gary Mullen.
And I asked Don Nealon if he thought that perhaps Rutgers had overscheduled themselves, and he was reluctant to comment on it, but the feeling I got is that he thought that perhaps they had indeed, overscheduled themselves and created some problems for themselves, putting people like Tennessee and Auburn and Alabama on the schedule. Sacks, a big discrepancy. Rutgers won for 9 yards, and you see what West Virginia has done to Jack LaPrairie. Hard to evaluate a quarterback when he's been sacked 7 times, isn't it?
Back to throw. White's pass incomplete.
You've got to assume that if he's been sacked 7 times, he's been pressured at least twice as often.
There's Hostetler. Haas on the sidelines finishes the ball game 17 of 27, 278 yards, 3 touchdowns. Only 1 pass was intercepted. He ran for a touchdown, 3 carries, 22 yards, and he played a heck of a football game.
You take out that interception, and it's just about a perfect day.
Steve Superick will punt for West Virginia, and Dan Errico will wait for it with 4:04 to play. Errico fumbles the ball and out of bounds. Rutgers will keep possession.
That's happened twice to Rutgers today. Both times they came out on the long end of it.
Going back to Nealon's statement that you made earlier, my understanding was a little bit different than yours. I thought on the question dealing with the schedule that he was saying that we did the same thing as Rutgers. We both upgraded our schedules, but we've just performed and had the victories, and they haven't. And if they would have had the victories, my interpretation was, then the schedule is fine. So the difference is several victories.
Yet the implication that he had better football players was clear.
Okay.
He had better football players.
LaPrairie back to throw on first down, throwing the home run, and it's intercepted.
Well, that's why we saw some running plays on the last series of downs
Here's
to avoid
Steve
something
Newberry
like this.
returning the ball into Rutgers territory at the 44-yard line. Newberry, 5th interception this season, his 20th of his career. That's a West Virginia record, and he is considered one of the best ever at West Virginia. Holding against Rutgers will be declined, and West Virginia will get the football back.
Newberry, a 4-year starter for them. You know, the other thing that Nealon said, he said that losing breeds losing, and winning breeds winning, obviously, and that's why the overscheduling, you know, can present a problem.
44-yard line, first down, and some movement on the left side of that Rutgers line. Well, my interpretation is different than yours, and that's what makes horse racing. I felt that he was just saying that his schedule was similar, but because he'd had the achievements, they've been less critical of him.
Yeah, but wasn't the implication there that West Virginia had better football players than Rutgers at this moment?
He felt that perhaps he had gotten a little bit of more of the horses, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay. There's the scoreboard, 3:40 to play. And the Mountaineers looking to improve to 8-2. Kevin White in the ball game at the 49-yard line of Rutgers. He hands off to Tom Bowman, and Bowman gets 7 off the right side. Bowman, a junior from Portsmouth, Ohio, was the Ohio State high jump champion in 1980. And he has been hampered by a broken hand this season. You can see that left hand very heavily taped. Now there's a good way to keep warm, jump up and down.
Well, the rabbit coat isn't
that
hurting. Yeah.
I think our cameraman is also trying to stay warm. 43-yard line of Rutgers, second down and about 8. And West Virginia keeps the ball on the ground. And again, it's Tommy Gray this time carrying the football.
First, I've been waiting for you to talk about it all day. We've been following rivers for the last 3 weeks. Which river are we on this week?
This week we are on the Monongahela.
Okay. You did that much better than I did George Weizak.
I practiced.
Monongahela.
Third down, 7 yards to go for West Virginia. They lead 35-7. They've been in control the entire way. They led 21-7 at halftime. And Tommy Gray from Somerville, New Jersey, dances for a couple yards. Barry Bukowski made the stop. I was looking at West Virginia players of the past, you know, some of their great players. And, of course, Danny Buggs played here, and Jim Braxton and Darrell Talley last year, and Tom Pridemore. And you talked about Oliver Luck in the Open. But
Bruce
Sam
Bosley.
Sam Huff is the one that really caught my eye. Fourth and 4, West Virginia, 37-yard line of Rutgers. And straight up the middle goes Tommy Gray, short of the first down, and Rutgers will take over.
Well, this is just a courtesy at this point to keep the football on the ground, although obviously in that situation a run wasn't a bad call. But I think they have enough points at 35-7 with 1:53 remaining.
Big bowl weekend coming up soon, and you know, the games of this week will certainly have a big impact on the overall bowl picture, and I'll touch on that in just a moment, tell you a couple of big games this week and what it could change or what it could accomplish for the excitement of postseason college action. Jack LaPrairie dumps it off to Albert Smith. It's incomplete. The big games of this week, Auburn, Georgia for the Southeastern Conference Championship, and of course a Sugar Bowl bid. Notre Dame, Penn State. If Notre Dame wins that football game, they will probably go to the Fiesta Bowl. Miami of Florida against Florida State. That's really the key game of the weekend, because if Miami wins, they'll probably play Nebraska in the Orange Bowl with the national championship on the line. If they lose, it could change 5 or 6 bowls in the process. LaPrairie hands the ball off to Vernon Williams, who's had a great afternoon, and he's into West Virginia territory at the 47-yard line.
Key block by Lamont Green, number 68, now in at offensive guard for Rutgers. And there's another thing that Coach Nealon said yesterday, which really isn't new or unique, but You rarely hear coaches talk about it or say it so explicitly. He says that he puts his good players, his most talented players, on defense first. And if they can't make it on defense, he then switches them to offense. And, of course, Paul Brown, I guess, made that statement back in the late 50s or the early 60s, and it was somewhat of a revelation at that time, rather unusual, because up until that time, everybody always put their best players at offensive halfback or at wide receiver, primarily at the halfback spot. But it takes more talent, I think, to play defense. There's no substitute for size and especially speed and quickness.
Gunny LaPrairie leads Rutgers out, 1:36 to play. West Virginia leads by 4 touchdowns. LaPrairie to throw. Gets away from one man, still trying to wrestle himself away, but finally goes down.
Quarterback is only as good as his supporting cast. In this case, he is only as good as his pass protection, which has been sorely lacking in the second half of this football game.
Chris Genther made the tackle for the Mountaineers. Under 1.5 minutes to play. LaPrairie with time this time. Now he rolls out of the pocket, and he goes down. The loose football. And I believe the play was blown dead.
Yeah, he was in a very precarious, dangerous position. His feet had slid out from under him. Looked like he was supporting himself on his right arm. And that was a time for him to go down. But watch the pass rush. Now, again, Rutgers has put in a lot of substitute players here to give them some experience. Number 70, number 68, well, of course, he's a senior, Lamont Green. But a lot of new people there. Look, I'm support. Get down, Jack. Sounds like a dance, doesn't it? What?
A cold, late autumn afternoon. And West Virginia has simply dominated this football game, and they will improve to 8-2 on the season. And Rutgers, feeling some of the frustration now, they will drop to 3-7. It has been a long afternoon for the Scarlet Knights. We want to thank some people involved. We want to thank Mike Baldwin, the sports information director at West Virginia, and his assistant Joe Bozak, the athletic director Freddie Schaus, head coach Don Nealon, and his entire staff. Up here in the booth, Tom Walsh and Lou Shane spotting. John Bolin also helping us upstairs. LaPrairie back to throw, in trouble, scrambles out of the pocket, and he goes down. Also to Jeff Sadow and Roger Schwing.
Kenny Friedman.
And
forgot
Kenny
our stat
Friedman.
man, Kenny Friedman.
I won't forget him.
Because his back was turned to us.
And that should
Boy,
do it
you
with
just-
5 seconds to play.
You have to feel sorry for LaPrairie in this situation. He just never had a chance in this last quarter. Under a rush constantly.
Thanks to Bob Smith, Sports Information Director at Rutgers, to Tom Peters, Associate Athletic Director, Bud Heilman, Assistant Athletic Director, Fred Gruninger, Athletic Director, and Coach Frank Burns and his staff. 5 seconds left. West Virginia.
Rutgers Sports Review with Pat Delsey. Brought to you by the Red Circle Bank, New Jersey National Bank.
Hello, sports fans, and welcome once again to the Rutgers Sports Review. I am Pat Delsey, and this week we'll be chatting with Frank Burns, talking about the West Virginia game last weekend and a preview of the Temple game coming up this Saturday at Rutgers Stadium. Also guesting on our program this week is Bob Riasso, the head coach of the soccer team, one of the top 5 teams in the country. With Bob today will be David Mazer, the sweeperback. And, of course, we'll be announcing the winners of the ticket winners to the Temple-Rutgers game this Saturday, as well as giving away tickets to a great basketball doubleheader, the Lady Knights and the Scarlet Knights, coming up at Rutgers Athletic Center. All of this and more here on the Rutgers Sports Review after we pause for this message.
I'm Horace Long, President of Merchants and Evans Industries, which makes, among other things, a unique aluminum roofing product called Zip Rib. We acquired Zip Rib quite recently with the very real help of our bank, New Jersey National. They structured and supplied financing for the acquisition. The full range of services provided to us by New Jersey National offers clear and convincing evidence. Building New Jersey business is New Jersey National's business.
The Rutgers University Concert Series announces a feature performance of the Traeger-Watts Duo with violinist Charles Traeger and pianist Andre Watts. The Traeger-Watts Duo promises to be one of the most tremendous collaborative performances ever to be heard in the College Avenue Gym. Reserve Tuesday, December 13th for Charles Traeger and Andre Watts. Order your tickets now by calling 201-932-7511 and charge them to your Visa or MasterCard.
We're back here on the Rutgers Sports Review, and with us, as always, is our very special guest, Coach Frank Burns. Coach, West Virginia, cold, windy, and a horse by the name of Hostetler gave all kinds of troubles to most of the teams this year, with the exception of Miami and Penn State, and they were trouble again this past weekend for Rutgers.
Well, Hostetler played a great game against us, Pat. He's got everything I think a quarterback needs. He's got good height. He's about 6'3". He's a big guy, over 200 pounds, very good movement, drops back quickly, really a very, very smart passer. I think he reads coverage well. He's got a great arm. I believe he's going to have a tremendous career ahead of him in professional football.
And with all that in mind, they really had to go to a couple or three big plays to get those scores in the first half. Three of them. You had a 45-yarder, a 40-yarder, pass, touchdown type play.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. And their first touchdown, he caught us in man coverage. Their wide receiver made, I thought, a great fake of an out cut and then went up. And Hostetler came out on the corner and threw the ball in for a TD. And then he threw a perfect pass on their second possession for a 40-some-yard TD. Also got him out of a lot of problems. We had him in third and long situations, early in the ball game, and he got him out of those third and longs and converted.
Rushing, they had some difficulty. They only wound up with about, 77 yards against you?
I thought we played very, very well against the run. They had a lot of difficulty running the football. I think the longest gain they had was they had a 7-yard gain. That was about their longest run of the day. But, again, they did pass it very effectively.
Was there a point when you thought you might have been able to take West Virginia, where there are some weaknesses that you saw that just didn't come to fruition?
Well, to be blunt about it, Pat, I think they have a very solid football team, and they have a good offensive football team. But to be very blunt, I have more respect for their defensive football team. I think they play excellent defense. We had, one good, solid drive. We started to move the ball on occasion, but we really could not do anything consistently against West Virginia.
The defense obviously was great, as you had 9 sacks against La Prairie, and of course, even when he wasn't sacked, he was under a great deal of pressure.
Yeah, that's very true. We ran the ball, fairly well, not great, but fairly well. We had 140 yards rushing, but as you say, La Prairie was sacked 9 times, and he was sacked for a total of 94 yards. So that takes a lot away from your rushing attack.
Vernon Williams did very well for you on a rush.
I thought Vernon played real well. He carried the ball, effectively on inside traps, and he had a little problem in pass protection now and then, but he blocked well on the run.
All right, let's take a look at some of the highlights of the game. Of course, they're in Morgantown, West Virginia, against the Mountaineers, one of the top-ranked teams in the country. They opened up their first scoring drive when Hostetler passed to flanker Gary Mullen. It was good for 40 yards here and a touchdown, making it 7-0 early in the ball game. Next West Virginia possession, Hostetler hits split end Willie Drury on a 45-yard pass play, also a touchdown right there.
This was against zone. It's really something that never should have happened. We had a breakdown in the secondary in that pass.
Now here's a good, strong drive by Rutgers. It starts out with a 2nd and 5 from the 46. Vernon Williams getting 9 yards on that play.
That was an inside trap play. And this is Vernon again on a similar play, running off the right tackle of West Virginia.
He gets 10 on that play. He gained 81 yards on 15 carries for the day. Vernon Williams having a real nice
afternoon. Just a sophomore. I think he's going to be an excellent football player.
Now we have a 3rd and 10 from West Virginia's 27. La Prairie goes to Len Valeza for a nice 18-yard gain.
This is just a fullback delay type of thing. You try to get the linebackers back deep and drop it in front. Here's Lenny Valeza right there. He's sitting in there, coming out late, number 39, just on a short delay pass, and picks up 18 important yards for us.
2 plays after this Valeza run, on a 2nd and 4. From the 4, Albert Smith goes in for the touchdown. We're going to see a couple of replays on this. Right. Albert Smith had a great hole there. Our offensive line really opened one up for him, and I thought did a very fine job of blocking. This is Lenny Beleza, number 39, in motion. He kicks out on the defensive tackle. We blocked down, and Albert, as we say, had a big hole to run through. It was an 81-yard drive in 12 plays, and it made the score 14-7, definitely in the ballgame there. That was Glenn Fine, number 51. He substituted for DeGilio, our starting center, that made a nice block on that play. Okay, West Virginia increasing the lead to 21-7 when Hostetler holds it and goes in for a 1-yard touchdown. And after the TD, West Virginia kicks off to freshman Jim Shedneck, who returns the ball 38 yards. Nice return. Right, he made a very nice return. He had great blocking on the play. Lenny Beleza, you'll see Lenny Beleza, I think, come into the picture right here. Lenny, number 39, comes up, makes a great block on 92, and then Joe Corbin, our number 47, does a real fine job of blocking also on the play. Shedneck has gotten 21.5 yards per kickoff return, with as long as being a 44-yard return earlier in the season. And the Rutgers defense came up with a couple of big plays in the quarter. Hostetler's pass intended for Rich Hollins is intercepted by Dan Errico. We're going to see this on a couple of replays, too. Yeah, I think Danny had a very good ball game overall. This was a great interception on his part. He also returned some punts for us very effectively. Now, we're going to see two replays, and you'll see the clean, interference-free move that he steps right in front of the intended receiver and steals the ball away from him. He did a real great job. It was actually, he was on the outside. It was a well-thrown pass on the post, but here you see Errico stepping in between, as you said, Pat, coming down with the football. On the ISO, you'll see another angle and a great shot of the running right in front. Right, this is 88 Hollins here on the post. And here comes Danny, number 20, steps inside, takes the ball away from Hollins. Billy Houston gets a fine block here, what we call a peel-back block. He knocks him right out of the picture after that. That's correct. On West Virginia's next possession, Tom Gray fumbles. The ball's recovered by freshman linebacker Tyrone Stone. This kid Stowe, he's going to be known, I think, in many parts of the country before he graduates from Rutgers. He's really coming on. Just a freshman, too, freshman linebacker. That made the score 21-7 at this point in the game. Going into the third quarter, the only score in the third quarter is when Hostetler hit Rob Bennett on a 21-yard pass play. Right, this was what we call a seam pass, just a turn, a very simple pattern. Hits Bennett, Bennett went in for the TD. And Ron Wolpley goes in from the one, making the score 35-7, which turned out to be the final score. Now we're going to see a record being established here. Andrew Baker has a reception good for 16 yards, giving him 721 yards for the season, breaking the record held by Tim Odell, which was 718 back in 1980. And we're going to see more on Andrew Baker later on in the program, too. He's quite a football player, Pat. Well, let's talk about Andrew insofar as what he's been able to do for you. He's been excellent in some of the circus catches, some of the super efforts that he's given you. Well, I think he has everything you need to be a very fine receiver. He's really experienced now. Last year, the year before, he kind of did things on his speed, and kind of natural ability. But now he knows how to read coverage, and he knows how to get open. He finds the holes. Tell us something about Andrew as a young man. Well, I'll tell you, I don't think you can have a finer person than an Andrew Baker. He is just a great kid all the way around. He does very well academically. He works hard. He's a great person, a leader of the team. He's a quiet leader. He's not a loud type of guy, but he's a person that gains respect quickly. As I say, a hard worker, and just a fine guy to have. He's a pleasure to coach. That must be a personal satisfaction for a coach when you see the players not only coming to fruition as a ball player, but seeing the entire young man begin to solidify and mature in those 3 or 4 years that he's under your tutelage. There's no doubt about it. Pat, some kids come in and they've got it made right from the start. They've had a great background and everything goes right. Other kids come in and they have to really, they got a lot to learn and they have to earn their way. And that, it is a satisfaction to see some kid come in here, struggle at first, and then really come on. Well, we're going to take a look at some other struggles that have occurred during the course of the season. We have Temple, of course, coming up next week. We'll have some highlights from one of their games against the Blue Hens of Delaware. All of that and more coming up right here on the Rutgers Sports Review, right after we pause for this message.
I'm Rick Herman, General Manager of Plum, where you'll find the great names in jewelry, watches, and giftware, from Omega, Lennox, and Yadro, at remarkable down to reality discounts. Since Plum's beginning, New Jersey National has been our bank, and we've never had a problem. They work closely and knowledgeably with us through account officers who know our needs and who demonstrate in the process that building New Jersey business is New Jersey National's business.
Jason Robards.
I'm Jason Robards, and I'm alcoholic. I thought only losers became alcoholics. Then I learned it's a disease that could have killed me. I don't drink anymore. And now I really know what success is all about. Not just with my career, but with my wife, my children, and my life. I'm living proof you don't have to die for a drink.
Get help like Jason Robards got. Call the National Council on Alcoholism in your area.
We're back here on the Rutgers Sports Review, talking, of course, with Coach Frank Burns. Coach, Temple comes in also 3-7. They've had a difficult season, ups and downs, the big plays hurting them from time to time in each game. Yet they were in most of the games, just like Rutgers. Rutgers was in practically every ball game to the point whereby it could have happened for Rutgers. Temple went through that kind of a season.
They sure did, Pat. You know, they have a deceiving 3-7 record. They were in every game, I would say, but one football game when they played Pittsburgh, but they played Penn State very tough. Georgia, they gave a great game at Georgia. I think it was 14-14 at the end of the third quarter, and I've got a lot of respect for Temple. I think they have it's only a 3-7 record, but it's a good football team.
I think basically when you say a deceiving kind of a record, I think that's the situation with Rutgers. A 3-7 record is really not indicative of the entire team play in most of the ball games that you've played. We're going to take a look at some of the highlights of Temple University. This is in one of the games they played against the Blue Hens of Delaware. And we're going to catch on with Paul Palmer, a freshman running back that is doing very well for them. This is the first play will be Paul Palmer getting the ball from Tim Reardon there and going in for the touchdown.
Right, that Palmer, number 6, he's a freshman. He's not a big guy, but he certainly does impress. He's got great speed, and I think he's very strong.
Now, he's stretched at 5'9", I think, and about 170 pounds, maybe not that heavy, as a matter of fact. We're going to see him on a 2-yard plunge after that particular score. He goes into the end zone with a couple of yards here.
You know, I think Temple, I think they have some fine running backs, and I think it's a great credit to this young man that he can start, because they've got people that I think are really, really outstanding. Brown and Slade and some people like that.
They got Harold Harmon, Brian Slade, and Jim Brown, of course, coming back from the injury. Here's Paul Palmer going off tackle and finally being pushed out of bounds.
Right, there's a good example. He made an excellent cut. There are a few backs could make a cut like that.
And they have some excellent receivers. Russell Carter is one, number 8, on the other end of this toss.
Yeah, Carter is another kid. He's got real good movement, very quick. He's a lot like Andrew Baker, I would say. I don't think he's quite as big as Andrew, but he's a lot like him. And this guy, 14, is one of the better passes around, Reardon.
Tim Reardon certainly is one of the top quarterbacks in the country.
There's no doubt about that.
And Russell Carter gets stopped at the 1 there. Anthony Young, one of the excellent cornerbacks playing safety this season, intercepts here.
Yeah, I think if I had to pick out a player on a Temple team as outstanding, I think it would be number 26, Anthony Young. And I guarantee he's got a great career ahead of him in football.
And Tim Hanley will make a couple of tackles here. You see on this play, and on the next one, he sacks the quarterback for Delaware, one of the fine defensive players.
Yeah, Hanley, I guess he's their leading sacker, Pat, and he's very quick and a very strong young man.
So you have your work cut out, 2 clubs, 3-7, each certainly looking for a season ending that will be a victorious one, and I think it's kind of a toss-up situation.
I think it has to be a toss-up game. I think the teams compare favorably in almost every area. Temple just plays good, solid football. I'll say one thing about Temple. I think that there is not a more physical football team in the country than Temple, and I think a lot of coaches will back me up on that.
Strategy for this weekend, what do you look to do?
Well, we hope, just to keep the errors to an absolute minimum and hope that Temple makes a few errors. I think this has been a problem that Temple and Rutgers has had. We've been kind of giving things away.
What about injuries? You suffered quite a bit.
Yeah, we're not in the best of shape as far as injuries are concerned. Joe Corbin, who played a lot of strong safety for us, is down with a knee. Joe Panucci, a starting offensive tackle, will not play. He also has a knee injury. And then Jimmy Shednick, our freshman returner, will not play in the game. He has a knee also, Pat.
Doesn't bode well. I tell you, it's a tough life being a coach.
Yeah,
but congratulations on the super job you're doing, and best of luck this weekend.
Thank you, Pat.
Thank you for being with us. Coach Frank Burns, our very special guest each week here on the Rutgers Sports Review, talking about last week, looking forward to this coming weekend, a 1 o'clock kickoff time at Rutgers Stadium in Piscataway. Be there Stay with us. We'll be back in just a few moments.
Hi, I'm Pete Johnson, Executive Vice President of Johnson & Towers Incorporated. As a major supplier to diesel power markets, we send Johnson & Towers generator sets like this all over the world, from Africa to Alaska, to provide efficient, dependable backup power in a wide range of installations. Speaking of backup power, our expansion into overseas markets has called for specialized and knowledgeable banking help. That's exactly what we get from our bank, New Jersey National. Help that has been a very real factor in our recently received an award we're very proud of, the President's E for Export Award. The backup power New Jersey National puts to work for us overseas ranges from setting up foreign credits and processing international collections to handling foreign currency transactions and analyzing possible markets. It demonstrates clearly that not just here at home, but around the world, building New Jersey business anywhere is New Jersey National's business.
We're back here on the Rutgers Sports Review, and it's a delight to have a very special guest back on the program, Bob Riasso, the head coach for the Rutgers soccer team. And, of course, he's got a smile on his face today because he is still undefeated going into the NCAA finals. Congratulations to you.
Thanks a lot, Pat.
Nice to have you back on the program. We also have your tri-captain, Dave Mazer. Dave, nice to have you on the program.
It's nice to be here, Pat.
Dave is a sweeper back on the club, and we'll be talking with Dave and Bob. But first of all, let me congratulate you on a fantastic season. You're undefeated on top of that. You are one of the top 5 teams in the country and still going up, possibly getting up maybe into the 3rd or even 2nd position for that matter. And you have a big contest coming up this weekend as the NCAA finals begin.
Yeah, it's really, it's been a great year for us. It's very gratifying to reach the goals your team establishes in the beginning of the year.
You know, we talked to you in the beginning of the year and towards the tail of last year. Let's rephrase the goals. You had them, and you've made those goals.
Yeah, we wanted to eclipse the school win record, which was 12, and we've done that with 17 victories. We wanted to get ourselves into the top 20 in the nation, which, of course, we've accomplished by being in the top 5. And we wanted to get an NCAA bid, and we found out that we have an NCAA bid, and we should be playing next Sunday.
Now, of course, that game will be this coming Sunday at Rutgers Stadium, and you'll be playing one of 2 teams.
Yeah, the 2 teams that are going to play off for the right to play us are Fairleigh Dickinson, who was ranked 2nd in our region, and Philadelphia Textile.
Now, as things go, there's a possibility that you can be playing the NCAA games again and again at Rutgers at home because of your high seed position.
Yeah, the situation goes, after you win the, let's say we win on Sunday, that's a regional championship, and they'll reseed the teams, and they'll play at the highest seeded team's home stadium. On November 27th will be the next game, and then December 4th. So conceivably, you could play the semifinals, which is December 4th, at Rutgers Stadium.
There were 2 ties this past season. Were those 2 teams the toughest teams you played insofar as the games were concerned, or were there tougher games?
I think probably Fairleigh Dickinson was our toughest match of the year. You know, we beat them 3-2 up at their place, and they're an outstanding team, a great team.